hear this house, which, you're welcome.
Hey, at least you're not buffering anymore, so maybe it was actually the app, the
Yeah,
Riverside.
I just eliminated as many variables in one go as I could. Yeah.
I
Yep.
don't even know when you guys got when we got kicked out because I was kept on reading and I'm not looking at the camera until it literally ding and I'm like, where am I? Like, what? Where is everyone?
You just kind of stopped, and I was about to be like, "Hey, you're buffering," and I look up, and it's just gone, and I'm like, "What the fuck?
I
What
know.
the fuck?" The last thing I heard was about how Caliban represents like the world proletariat, and I was writing that down.
Oh, okay. I can be able to just start the introduction again because that's like really close to the beginning.
Okay, okay. Hey,
Just give me a
Claire,
sec. We'll wait
can
for
you
a
see the
couple people to
chat?
come in.
Can you see the chat?
Me? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Okay, because this is just a YouTube thing now.
Oh
Because
my
it'll let
goodness, I
me.
can see chat.
That's
Oh,
awesome. Because it'll let me invite people on my phone,
yeah,
but
okay.
not on the computer. Because YouTube's
Weird.
like
That is so
PC. What is
weird.
a PC? What's that? Why would we want to use that? What?
That's so weird.
It's fucking stupid. Somebody
Yeah.
made that decision deliberately. I guarantee you, for some reason. Yes, sort of, but I am the only one. Oh well.
Well, we're just gonna wait a bit, then we're gonna redo the introduction.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Alfalfa's back! Hooray!
Yay.
Ah,
So I'm having a smoke break and then we'll get to it.
hey, yeah, that was
After
very
all this stress, I'm
frustrating.
having a smoke.
Yeah, no. That was very frustrating. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. And I guess so from now on we'll just do it this way and forget all about all of that. But
I
yeah.
wonder what would happen if you flip your phone around to the long view. Would it flip my photo long? Because mine is on long view, right?
Oh, it gave me the option to go in that way at the beginning, and I missed it because I was in a hurry. Sorry.
That's
Landscape,
okay.
that's what it is.
I
Because
like
I
this much
prefer to
better
film
than
that way. I prefer to film that way because I'm old,
mm.
you know. And this whole up down thing is still weird for me.
Yeah, I just want to be able to. I wonder if this is backwards now too. Or can you read that?
I see, that's what I'm saying. It's sideways and backwards. I can't read it because it's tiny, but wait. Wait. Oh yeah, that's still backwards. God damn
It's
it.
okay. Well, I read
Wait,
it
I'm
anyway.
looking at it
So,
upside down. I'm looking at it upside down.
oh,
Wait a
were you?
minute. Yeah. No, it looks good. Wood could of witches conjuring a shower of rain.
Oh,
No.
you
Yeah,
can
we're
actually
good
read it.
now.
Okay, so hold on. I'll just fix
Yeah.
my camera.
And it is beautiful.
Yes, I did my own printing and everything. Look at that.
Mhm.
Oh, look! Do you have a camera option? I do. There we go. Okay,
Look at
let's
that.
forget Riverside because this
Yeah.
even lets me put on my light and everything,
All right, cool.
and it's not backwards.
I guess I'll just have to go without music for 2 hours every fortnight. I'll live.
Okay, that's good.
But that is how I cope around here in this tiny shoebox with the hollow corridors. Is I just kind of have one earphone with music playing all the
Yeah,
time.
it's okay. So sorry everyone about that. We
Yeah, 1,000
we tried to
apologies.
prepare, but we suck at technology.
I will not I will not take that label. I don't suck at technology.
I
I
will
don't
take that
have the
label.
time. I don't
I
have
will
the
take that
time
label. I will
or the
take that.
energy because and frankly, I could have done this in the first place. Like I say, I just wanted to listen to my music. God damn it. Oh,
See, I will
sorry.
take that label. I don't have time for technology myself, and I don't care enough to spend my whole life trying to figure out the newest, latest shit.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So,
No, it's a constant hamster wheel.
well, that's what I mean. That's why I suck at it because I
Mm,
have other things to do, better things to do,
okay.
right?
Maybe it's a pride thing for me, I guess. Like I say, I did go to school for this at some point. I flatter myself that I can at least troubleshoot a thing.
Yeah.
You know. But I made
See,
these troubles for myself.
I've never been savvy with that. I don't care. coding and all this crap.
Oh no, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do that. Oh God, no.
I didn't even really know
Oh.
that much of a difference between the two. Okay, that's how much I know.
Well, I was grandfathered into it in that my mom was a coder back in the 90s. So
Mm,
I've just always been around that shit. Which is how I know sometimes that somebody made a decision like this here on purpose somewhere for a
yeah,
reason. The fact that I can't share this stream like this on the PC, there's a reason for that. Someone made
yeah,
a decision that they just didn't want to have that on there for some reason. That
yeah.
wasn't important. Ah. Anyway.
Anyways, all right, I'm almost done my phone.
Hey, Belle is here. What about you?
Hey, Belle.
It's been a while. How you doing? You caught the good one too, because we have Kat here reading Caliban and the Witch for us.
Yeah, you missed the preface, but we're just about to go into the introduction. And the other one was like all buffery, anyways. I don't know how well it's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
work.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Watching that later is going to be painful.
Yeah.
Holiday has just begun. Oh, that must be why you're here. Okay. Cheers.
All right, get my position back up.
All right, and I had myself muted while you were talking. I'm going to do that again, just for
Yeah, that makes
random
it. Yeah, just in case you get a friendly visit.
or a not so friendly random noise from out there, dogs barking and what the fuck ever.
Oh yeah, that too. All right, so we're going to. Oh, hold on. Yeah, there we go. So we're going to start with the introduction yet again. All right. Since Marx, studying the genesis of capitalism has been an obligatory step for activists and scholars convinced that the first task on humanity's agenda is the construction of an alternative to capitalist society. Not surprisingly, every new revolutionary movement has returned to the transition to capitalism, bringing to it the perspectives of new social subjects and uncovering new grounds of exploitation and resistance. This volume is conceived within this tradition, but two considerations in particular have motivated this work. First, there has been the desire to rethink the development of capitalism from a feminist viewpoint, while at the same time avoiding the limits of a woman's history separated from that of the male part of the working class. The title, Caliban and the Witch, inspired by Shakespeare's The Tempest, reflects this effort. In my interpretation, however, Caliban represents not only the anti-colonial rebel whose struggle still resonates in contemporary Caribbean literature, but is a symbol for the world proletariat, and more specifically for the proletarian body as a terrain and instrument of resistance to the logic of capitalism. Most important, the figure of the witch, who, in The Tempest, is confined to a remote background, in this volume is placed at the center stage as the embodiment of a world of female subjects that capitalism had to destroy: the heretic, the healer, the disobedient wife, the woman who dared to live alone, the Obaha woman who poisoned the master's food and inspired the slaves to revolt. The second motivation behind this volume has been the worldwide return, with a new global expansion of capitalist relations, of a set of phenomena usually associated with the genesis of capitalism. Among them are a new round of enclosures that have expropriated millions of agricultural producers from their land, and the mass pauperization and criminalization of workers through a policy of mass incarceration, recalling the Great Confinement described by Michel Foucault in his study of History of Madness. We have also witnessed the worldwide development of new diasporic movements accompanied by the persecution of migrant workers, again reminiscent of the bloody laws that were introduced in the 16th and 17th century Europe to make vagabonds available for local exploitation. Most important for this book has been the intensification of violence against women, including in some countries, such as South Africa and Brazil, the return of witch hunting. Why, after 500 years of capitalist rule, at the beginning of the third millennium, are workers on a mass scale still defined as paupers, witches, and outlaws? How are land expropriation and mass pauperization related to the continuing attack on women? And what do we learn about capitalist development, past and present, once we examine it through the vantage point of a feminist perspective? In It is with these questions in mind that in this work I have revisited the transition from feudalism to capitalism from the viewpoint of women, the body, and primitive accumulation. Each of these concepts refers to a conceptual framework that is reference point for this work, the feminist, the Marxist, and the Foucauldian. Thus, I will begin my introduction with some observations on the relation of my analysis to these different perspectives. Excuse me. Primitive accumulation is the term that Marx uses in Capital Volume 1 to characterize the historical process upon which the development of capitalist relations was premised. It is a useful term for it provides a common denominator through which we can conceptualize the changes that the advent of capitalism produced in economic and social relations. But its importance lies above all in the fact that primitive accumulation is treated by Marx as a foundational process revealing the structural conditions for the existence of capitalist society. This enables us to read the past as something which survives into the present, a consideration which is essential to my usage of the term in this work. However, my analysis departs from Marx in two ways. Whereas Marx examines primitive accumulation from the viewpoint of the waged male proletariat and the development of commodity production, I examine it from the viewpoint of the changes it introduced in the social position of women and the production of labor power. Thus, my description of primitive accumulation includes a set of historical phenomena that are absent in Marx and yet have been extremely important for capitalist accumulation. They include 1. The development of a new sexual division of labor subjugating women's labor and women's reproductive function to the reproduction of the workforce. 2. The construction of a new patriarchal order based upon the exclusion of women from waged work and their subordination to men. 3. The mechanization of the proletarian body and its transformation, in the case of women, into a machine for the production of new workers. Most important, I have placed at the center of my analysis of primitive accumulation the witch hunts of the 16th and 17th century, arguing that the persecution of the witches in Europe, as in the New World, was as important as colonization and the expropriation of the European peasantry from its land were for the development of capitalism. My analysis also departs from Marx in its evaluation of the legacy and function of primitive accumulation. Though Marx was acutely aware of the murderous character of capitalist development, its history, he declared, quote, is written in the annals of humanity in characters of fire and blood, end quote. There can be no doubt that he viewed it as a necessary step in the process of human liberation. He believed that it disposed of small-scale property and that it increased to a degree unmatched by any other economic system the productive capacity of labor, thus creating the material conditions for the liberation of humanity from scarcity and necessity. He also assumed that the violence that had presided over the earliest phases of capitalist expansion would recede with the maturing of capitalist relations, when the exploitation and disciplining of labor would be accomplished mostly through the workings of economic laws.
Well, that's convenient for him.
Right? See, Marx is good to study, but there's also blind spots in his analysis that I find to be glaring, right?
Well, of course.
Definitely. So
I compare him to Sigmund Freud is to psychology. I mean, you don't just take him and run.
oh, no, Sigmund Freud was worse. I think worse.
No, okay. But like, as far as there being holes, right?
Well, the holes have to a lot more to do with like primitive accumulation and patriarchal accumulation is what I like to call it when it comes to the women question. Right? It was his perspective is a lot to do with white male perspective, right?
But that's what they have in common, I think is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I totally get you. I really hate Sigmund.
No, I'm not a fan of his. I'm just saying that as far as like founders of something that like whether you like them or not, they're kind of indispensable as far as what, you know.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of Sigmund Freud's theories are bullshit. Whereas Marx isn't really bullshit. He just sort of left out the perspective of the sort of hidden exploitation of women in particular based on their sex, as well as primitive accumulation. Whereas, say,
Not the best
Sigmund Freud, he
metaphor.
just went on like lies, and tirades that was cocaine fueled. Like,
That was later though. It's not
yeah.
it's not the best metaphor, but to say that I don't know. I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. It's good to ask. This it's not just me lecturing a class. This is a communal thing, so we can ask questions, talk about what we read,
I'm
all
trying to
that.
lead a discussion, and if we go over today, that's not a big deal because I don't have to be anywhere at 3 o'clock.
Okay, that's good because I don't know how much like this is only the. I probably won't take that much longer actually.
Well, and it's the discussion that I think is going to take most of the time, right? I mean,
Right, right.
yeah. So
Okay, so
carry
where
on.
was I? Oh, where was I? I always forget when I start talking. Okay, I found it. All right, so we'll keep going. Um, in this, he was deeply mistaken. A return of the most violent aspects of primitive accumulation has accompanied every phase of capitalist globalization, including the present one, demonstrating that the continuous expulsion of farmers from the land, war, and plunder on a world scale, and the degradation of women are necessary conditions for the existence of capitalism in all times. I should add that Marx could never have presumed that capitalism paves the way to human liberation had he looked at its history from the viewpoint of women. For this history shows that, even when men achieved a certain degree of formal freedom, women were always treated as socially inferior beings and were exploited in similar ways to slavery. Women, then, in the context of this volume, signifies not just a hidden history that needs to be made visible, but a particular form of exploitation, and therefore a perspective from which to reconsider the history of capitalist relations. This project is not new. From the beginning of the feminist movement, women have revisited the transition to capitalism, even though they have not always recognized it. For a while, the main framework that shaped women's history was a chronological one. The most common designation feminist historians have used to describe the transition period has been early modern Europe, which, depending on the author, could designate the 13th or the 17th century. In the 1980s, however, a number of works appeared that took a more critical approach. Among them were Joan Kelly's essays on the Renaissance and the Coeur de la Femme. Sorry about pronunciation. Carolyn Merchant's The Death of Nature, published in 1980. Leopoldina Fortunati's L'Arcano de la Reproduction, published in 1981, now available in English. Mary Weisner's Working Women in Resistance, Renaissance Germany, 1986, and Miriam Mees's Patriarchy Accumulation on a World Scale, published in 1986. And I'll just stop right there for a second. Miriam Mees's book that was just referenced, Patriarchy and Accumulation on a World Scale, is really good. And if this goes well, that's something that I think is important to probably look at and maybe even do another thing on.
I'm already terrified.
Okay, so we'll get back to that. So, all right. To these works, we must add the many monographs that over the last 2 decades have reconstructed women's presence in the rural and urban economies of medieval and early modern Europe, and the vast literature and documentary work that has been produced on the witch hunt and the lives of women in pre-colonial America and the Caribbean islands. Among the latter, I want to remember in particular Irene Silverblatt's The Moon, the Sun, and the Witches, published in 1987, the first account on the witch hunt in colonial Peru, and Hilary Beckel's Natural Rebels, a social history of Barbados, published in 1995, which, together with Barbara Bush's, and not that Barbara Bush, by the way, it's a different one, unfortunate name. Barbara Bush's Slave Women and the Caribbean Society, 1650 to 1838, published in 1990. It is one of the major texts on the history of enslaved women in the Caribbean plantations. What this scholarly production has confirmed is that to reconstruct the history of women or to look at history from a feminist viewpoint means to redefine in fundamental ways the accepted historical categories and to make visible hidden structures of domination and exploitation. Thus, Kelly's essay, Did Women Have a Renaissance? Published in 1984, undermined the classical historical periodization that celebrates the Renaissance as an outstanding example of cultural achievement. Carolyn Merchant's The Death of Nature, published in 1980, challenged the belief in the socially progressive character of the scientific revolution, arguing that the advent of scientific rationalism produced a cultural shift from an organic to a mechanical paradigm that legitimized the exploitation of women and nature. Especially important has been Maria Mead's Patriarchy and Accumulation on a World Scale, published in 1986, now a classic work that re-examines capitalist accumulation from a non-Eurocentric viewpoint, connecting the destiny of women in Europe to that of Europe's colonial subjects, and providing for a new understanding of women's place in capitalism and the globalization process.
Ooh,
Caliban
I
and the
love
Witch.
that. I
Yeah,
love the
right?
sound of that. I love the sound of
That's
that.
the one I was talking about. Yeah, that was a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
She actually, unfortunately, just passed away. I think last year, which is so sad.
Oh. Well, the book is older than I am, so.
Yeah, it's always good to look at the different past texts on these things. I think that
Oh,
people
yeah.
really poo-poo a lot of the older works.
I do not mean to say that like that.
No. I'm just saying that reminded me of like how I've seen younger generation of quote unquote activists really just poo-poo anything that's older.
Well, you're
But it's
just
like
playing into the hands of forgetting our,
our
collective wisdom
history.
today. Like,
Exactly.
hello, they should know
Right.
better.
They really should. All right, so onward and upward. Caliban and the Witch builds upon these works as on the studies contained within the Great Caliban. However, its historical scope is broader, as the book connects the development of capitalism on one side to the social struggles and the reproduction crisis of the late feudal period, and on the other to what Marx defines as the formation of the proletariat. In this process, the book addresses a number of historical and methodological questions that have been at the center of the debate on women's history and feminist theory. The most important historical question addressed by the book is how to account for the execution of hundreds of thousands of witches at the beginning of the modern era, and how to explain why the rise of capitalism was coeval with the war against women. Feminist scholars have developed a framework that throws much light on this question. It is generally agreed that the witch hunt aimed at destroying the control that women had exercised over their reproductive function and served to pave the way for the development of a more oppressive patriarchal regime. It is also argued that the witch hunt was rooted in the social transformations that accompanied the rise of capitalism. But the specific historical circumstances under which the persecution of witches was unleashed and the reasons why the rise of capitalism demanded a genocidal attack on women have not been investigated. This is the task I take on in Caliban and the Witch, as I began to analyze the witch hunt in the context of the demographic and economic crisis of the 16th and 17th centuries and the land and labor policies of the mercantilist era. My work here is only a sketch of the research that would be necessary to clarify the connections I have mentioned, and especially the relation between the witch hunt and the contemporary development of a new sexual division of labor, confining women to reproductive work. It is sufficient, however, to demonstrate that the persecution of witches, like the slave trade and the enclosures, was a central aspect of the accumulation and formation of the modern proletariat in Europe as well as in the New World. There are other ways in which Caliban and the Witch speaks to women's history and feminist theory. First, it confirms that the transition to capitalism is a test case for feminist theory as the redefinition of productive and reproductive tasks and male-female relations that we find in this period, both realized with the maximum of violence and state intervention, leave no doubt concerning the constructed character of sexual roles in capitalist society. The analysis I propose also allows us to transcend the dichotomy between gender and class. If it is true that in capitalist society sexual identity became the carrier of specific work functions, then gender should not be considered a purely cultural reality, but should be treated as a specification of class relations. From this viewpoint, the debates that have taken place among postmodern feminists concerning the need to dispose of quote unquote women as a category of analysis and define feminism in oppositional terms have been misguided. To rephrase the point I already made, if femininity has been constituted in capitalist society as a work function masking the production of the workforce under the cover of a biological destiny, then women's history is class history. And the question that has to be asked is whether the sexual division of labor that has produced that particular concept has been transcended. If the answer is a negative one, as it must be when we consider the present organization of reproductive labor, then women is a legitimate category of analysis, and activities associated with reproduction remain a crucial ground of struggle for women, as they were, yeah, for the feminist movement of the 1970s, which on this basis connected itself with the history of the witches, right? She
Yeah, it
like
does.
this like you'd be surprised how many feminist texts before like the 2000s mentioning postmodern and the whole queer theory kind of having starting to accumulate, right? And feminists like this saying no, 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 but then they're just completely ignored.
Yeah, yeah. This is a book we need now, and this is
Yeah,
shit I've been saying for years. Yeah.
yeah. Maria Mies's book that the patriarchy accumulation one also mentions this postmodern feminism and her saying no, 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 this is ridiculous. Right?
Mm-hmm. You're undoing
Yeah,
everything we did.
yeah. Exactly.
It's like trying to, make like knit something while somebody at the other end is pulling it apart.
Right,
Right.
right,
Right.
right. All right, back to the book. A further question addressed by Caliban and the Witch is raised by the contrasting perspectives offered by the feminist and Foucauldian analysis of the body in their applications to an understanding of the history of capitalist development. From the beginning of the women's movement, feminist activists and theorists have seen the concept of the body as key to an understanding of the roots of male dominance and the construction of female social identity. Across ideological differences, the feminists have realized that a hierarchical ranking of human faculties and the identification of women with a degraded conception of corporeal reality has been instrumental, historically, to the consolidation of patriarchal power and the male exploitation of female labor. Thus, analysis of sexuality, procreation, and mothering have been at the center of feminist theory and women's history. In particular, feminists have uncovered and denounced the strategies and the violence by means of which male centered systems of exploitation have attempted to discipline and appropriate the female body, demonstrating that women's bodies have been the main targets, the privileged sites for the deployment of power techniques and power relations. Indeed, the many feminist studies which have been produced since the early 1970s on the policing of women's reproductive functions, the effects on women of rape, battering, and the imposition upon them of beauty as a condition for social acceptability are a monumental contribution to the discourse on the body in our times, falsifying the perception common among academics, which attributes its discovery to Foucault. Starting from an analysis of body politics, feminists have not only revolutionized the contemporary philosophical and political discourse, but they have also begun to revalorize the body. This has been a necessary step both to counter the negativity attached to the identification of femininity with corporeality and to create a more holistic version of what it means to be human beings. This valorization has taken various forms, ranging from the quest for non dualistic forms of knowledge to the attempt, with feminists who view sexual difference as a positive value, to develop a new type of language and rethink the corporeal roots of human intelligence. As Rossi Brandotti has pointed out, the body that is reclaimed is never to be understood as a biological given. Nevertheless, such slogans as repossessing the body or speaking the body have been criticized by post-structuralist Foucauldian theorists who reject as illusory any call for instinctual liberation. In turn, feminists have accused Foucault's discourse on sexuality of being oblivious to sexual differentiations, while at the same time appropriating many of the insights developed by the feminist movement. This criticism is quite appropriate. Sorry. Moreover, Foucault is so intrigued with the production character of the power techniques by which the body has been invested that his analysis practically rules out any critique of power relations. The nearly apologetic quality of Foucault's theory of the body is accentuated by the fact that it views the body as constituted by purely discursive practices and is more interested in describing how power is deployed rather than in identifying its source. Thus, the power by which the body is produced appears as a self subsistent metaphysical entity, ubiquitous, disconnected from social and economic relations, and as mysterious in its permutations as a godly prime mover.
I feel
Basically,
like
she's just
he had a
shitting on
really
him.
good mom.
What?
I feel like he had a good mom.
Yeah. I don't know. Oh, Foucault.
She managed to give him that impression. Good job. I mean, my goodness. Of the feminine, I'm just saying.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Well, like, I don't know, like when people like they always cite Foucault and stuff, but yeah, Foucault never really looks at power dynamics and power like this. Like it's always so.
His stuff is all devoted to rationalizing them away.
I know, right? It,
Yeah.
like she says, it's almost apologetic, like that. Like he's to like and just ignores it completely and just looks at like certain power dynamics and complete. Yeah, it's and he's also a sex tourist for children. So I mean. Yeah.
Why is it always something like that? I don't I'll have to try replaying later. My brain no worky, says Geek Girl. No worries. No
Don't worry
worries.
about it.
It's heavy stuff.
Yeah.
But so, like, why is it always something like that? Is it that, people who are, sex pests of children just feel this underlying unconscious urge to rationalize everything they do?
Yeah, well, because it's the privilege aspect. They want to do it, so they want to rationalize it, and they like just
But
talk
so
out
then
of
they
their
go into
assholes,
like, but so they go
being
into,
very
they go into,
contrived,
sorry.
right? Oh no,
No,
that's
I'm just
okay. You
saying,
just talk out. Sorry.
it strikes me that, a lot of philosophers, a lot of politicians, a lot of filmmakers, people who are in
Mhm.
charge of telling stories for a living.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Is that
it is
why?
rationalization to get
Is
away
that
with their shit.
right? Yeah. So they're compelled to just like craft a narrative around everything.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting a psychoanalysis. Yeah. Go
Yeah.
on.
That's okay. I'm the one that stopped. No, I know. It's just big floofy words to express nothing really, but to make it sound like they got something, some
Yeah.
wisdom to impart, but really they're just there to try to
Don't
cover
look
their
at
own
me.
asses and
Look at
so that they can
yourself.
perpetrate on others, really.
It's deflection. It's just a massive, massive like
It's
thing.
Darbo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you can Darvo somebody before they even realize they're a victim, well, hey, you're just,
You're set.
yeah.
Yeah. Where was I? Okay.
Oh,
Okay, we're almost close to the end. All right. And keep going here. Can an analysis of the transition to capitalism and primitive accumulation help us go beyond these alternatives? I believe it can. With regard to the feminist approach, our first step should be to document the social and historical conditions under which the body has become a central element and the defining sphere of activity for constitution of femininity. Along these lines, Caliban and the Witch shows that the body has been for women in capitalist society what the factory has been for male waged workers, the primary ground of their exploitation and resistance, as the female body has been appropriated by the state and men and forced to function as a means for the reproduction and accumulation of labor. Thus, the importance which the body in all its aspects, maternity, childbirth, sexuality, has acquired in feminist theory and women's history has not been misplaced. Caliban and the Witch also confirms the feminist insight which refuses to identify the body with the sphere of the private, and in this vein speaks of body politics. Further, it explains how the body can be for women both a source of identity and, at the same time, a prison, and why it is so important for feminists and, at the same time, so problematic to valorize it. As for Foucault's theory, the history of primitive accumulation offers many counterexamples to it. proving that it can be defended only at the price of outstanding historical omissions. The most obvious is the omission of the witch hunts and the discourse of demonology in his analysis of the disciplining of the body. Undoubtedly, they would have inspired different conclusions had they been included at all. For both demonstrate the repressive character of the power that was unleashed against women and the impossibility of the complicity and role reversal that Foucault imagines to exist between victims and their persecutors in his description of the dynamic of micropowers. A study of the witch hunt also challenges Foucault's theory concerning the development of biopower, stripping it from the mystery by which Foucault surrounds the emergence of this regime. Foucault registers the shift, presumably in 18th century Europe, from a type of power built on the right to kill to a different one exercised through the administration and promotion of life forces, such as population growth, but he offers no clues as to its motivation. Yet, if we place this shift in the context of the rise of capitalism, the puzzle vanishes, for the promotion of life forces turns out to be nothing more than the result of a new concern with the accumulation and reproduction of labor power. We can also see the promotion of population growth by the state can go hand in hand with a massive destruction of life. For in many historical circumstances, witness the history of the slave trade. One is a condition for the other. Indeed, in a system where life is subordinated to the production of profit, the accumulation of labor power can only be achieved with the maximum of violence, so that, in Maria Mies's words, violence itself becomes the most productive force. In conclusion, what Foucault would have learned had he studied the witch hunt, rather than focusing on the pastoral confession in his History of Sexuality published in 1978, is that such history cannot be written from the viewpoint of a universal, abstract, asexual subject. Further, he would have recognized that torture and death can be placed at the service of life, or better, at the service of the production of labor power, since the goal of capitalist society is to transform life into the capacity to work and dead labor. From this viewpoint, primitive accumulation has been a universal process in every phase of capitalist development. Not accidentally, its original historical exemplar has sedimented strategies that, in different ways, have been relaunched in the face of every major capitalist crisis, serving to cheapen the cost of labor and to hide the exploitation of women and colonial subjects. This is what occurred in the 19th century when the responses to the rise of socialism, the Paris Commune, and the accumulation crisis of 1873 were the scramble for Africa and the simultaneous creation of Europe of the nuclear family, centered on the economic dependence of women to men, following the expulsion of women from the waged workplace. This is also what is happening today, as a new global expansion of the labor market is attempting to set back the clock with respect to the anti colonial struggle and the struggles of other rebel subjects, students, feminists, blue collar workers, who in the 1960s and 70s undermined the sexual and international division of labor. It is not surprising then if large scale violence and enslavement have been on the agenda, as they were in the period of the transition, with the difference that today the conquistadors are the officers in the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund who are still preaching the worth of a penny to the same populations which the dominant world powers have for centuries robbed and pauperized. Once again, much of the violence unleashed is directed against women, for in the age of computer, the conquest of the female body is still a precondition for the accumulation of labor and wealth, as demonstrated by the institutional investment in the development of new reproductive technologies that, more than ever, reduce women to wombs. Sound familiar?
Oh yeah, it all goes the same direction.
Right, right. Which I think a lot of the trans ideology and narrative is reason why it's being pushed, I do believe, has a lot to do with the reproductive technologies and putting it into more institutionalized hands with the um, uh, removal of eggs, sperm, body parts, and hoping to sort of get to a point where they are basically controllers of reproduction, so they can, make babies in artificial wombs. I know it sounds crazy, but that's where it seems like the trajectory is. It's crazy.
It's like what we were saying the other day about when you look at stuff critically, it just kind of ends up going in this direction. You're like, wait, I don't want to go that way. And so you take a break for a while, and then you come back to stuff, and you can't help but start asking questions again, and you end up going down that same direction again. You're like, wait, no, I don't want to go that way.
But when everything's pointing that way, that's where you have to go. And it's scary. So scary thinking about it, but yeah. It's just interesting that, like, the way that she even speaks about reducing women to wombs. I'm like, that is so prevalent right now.
Yeah, and just I was gonna say, I think the tech bros have those guys beat.
Yeah.
The World Monetary Fund is great and all, but like Elon Musk is literally going through the Pentagon like right now.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. This is an older book, right? But you could see the trajectory, like, from then till now. It's the same goal, even with different institutions. It's crazy.
Yeah, with different individuals, but it's all the same. Yeah, trend.
Yeah. Okay, we're almost there. So where we're all right. Also, the feminization of poverty that has accompanied the spread of globalization acquires a new significance when we recall that this was the first effect of the development of capitalism on the lives of women. Indeed, the political lesson that we can learn from Caliban and the Witch is that capitalism as a social economic system is necessarily committed to racism and sexism. For capitalism must justify and mystify the contradictions built into its social relations. The promise of freedom versus the reality of widespread coercion, and the promise of prosperity versus the reality of widespread penury. By denigrating the nature of those it exploits, women, colonial subjects, and the descendants of African slaves that displaced by globalization. At the core of capitalism, there is not only the symbiotic relation between waged contractual labor and enslavement, but, together with it, the dialectics of accumulation and destruction of labor power, for which women have paid the highest cost with their bodies, their work, their lives. It is impossible, therefore, to associate capitalism with any form of liberation or attribute the longevity of the system to its capacity to satisfy human needs. If capitalism has been able to reproduce itself, it is only because of the web of inequalities that it has built into the body of the world proletariat and because of its capacity to globalize exploitation. This process is still unfolding under our eyes, as it has for the last 500 years. The difference is that today the resistance to it has also achieved a global dimension. End introduction. So that is the first end of the preface and the introduction aspect of it.
Very nice. Thank you.
And hold on. We got one more little thing for the question period, if there is one. We have this. Yay.
Okay, what do we got?
So this is just a painting. It's a woman carrying a basket of spinach. And then this was in 1385. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah,
is that better?
I can't read it because my screen is tiny.
Okay, I'll read it. Women carrying a basket of spinach. Women in the Middle Ages often kept gardens where they grew medical herbs. Their knowledge of the properties of herbs is one of the secrets they handed down from generation to generation. So this is either a tapestry or painting that was in 1385 in Italy. So it's an Italian one. Yeah.
Cool.
There we go. So that wasn't too long though, right?
No, that was sort of perfect.
Yeah. So now that will give me an idea how to make the different sections, because like I said before with you offline, the chapters are hugely long. Like,
right.
There's no way I'm going to be speaking for like 5 hours straight. You can't make me.
No, I don't have time to listen to that anyway. So, no.
Yeah.
Do we have? Fun.
Yeah, I think that so there's still 2 people in the chat.
Yeah, Alfalfa says that the thing about taking control of reproduction makes sense because a lot of trans-identified males boast about the possibility of uterus transplants, even though they literally don't have the hips to give
Right?
birth
Right?
or the natural production of hormones. Right? Yeah. No, it would kill them. They would die. Even if they survived the
But
transplant, they would not survive the pregnancy. They would die.
they are really looking into artificial wombs and creating humans outside of any body.
Right. Right.
So
Which
even
is
though they say they want
terrifying.
to transplant the wombs inside themselves, I think the real actual motivation is not that, but in fact having people be sort of like birthed on
Yeah.
an assembly line birthing process
Yeah.
production. Yeah. Because we're just tools as workers, we're tools. So they
Which,
want to
like,
and as tools can be made in an assembly line.
and it occurred to me that dualism is like a very masculine perspective, just anyway, because how can you just separate your mind from your body? Is your body not demanding your attention? Oh, wait, right. I forgot. You're a man. Whose life path apparently is they're born and they grow up and they get middle aged and they get old and then they die. And that's it.
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah, well,
I really just
happy.
like. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
Both of us at
A
the same
woman's
time.
life is full of fluctuations, in a way that a man's is not.
Yeah.
Where you just can't separate your mind from your body to the same extent. I believed that for a long time. I noticed that a long time ago, actually.
And look how unhealthy it becomes when you actually are able to do so. You get
Oh
queer
yeah,
theory, people chopping and cutting their bodies up.
yeah. Well, I think that's one of the reasons that women a lot of times are sharper than men is because we have to be women and men.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're constantly emulating a man in your mind a lot of times, right? Like a lot of us
Well,
do
what's
that.
interesting, and maybe this is a little off topic, but when we go into more of the chapters, the different chapters, and we start at the beginning, there, like a lot of people think of women's history has always been very subjugated,
Hmm.
but back in like they're like 1200s, 1300s, there was
Yeah.
doctor women, like women that were doctors. They were like they weren't just bare um
Right.
foot, yeah, and pregnant in the kitchen, barefoot and pregnant, that kind of like ideal, or
Great.
the idea of how women always have been is not true. It's only when
It's
the
always
black
gone
death,
like that.
yeah.
And my
So there's
understanding of it is that was after like the big plague, the bad plague.
yes, the bad
That they
plague
just
is what.
needed workers, any hands to do the work. Oh my
Well,
God, you're
what
a woman, I
happened
don't
was
care.
Well, no, what happened was because there wasn't that many workers, they were
Right.
able to negotiate their labor. So
Right.
they didn't have anyone else to exploit. They were able to like negotiate more. That's why they needed control of women's reproduction.
Yeah.
Was so that yeah,
So then obviously
and
the powers that be
it was
wanted
a
to
very
clamp down on
decisive
all that.
move and a very motivated move to get men to report on the women in their lives,
Uh-huh.
right? And really
Yeah.
conquer and divide and conquer kind of aspect.
Yeah.
And that's what took them out of the working life and
Well,
into
so
the
that
home
was
doing free labor.
so that's what I was saying though. It's like history didn't start in the 14th century,
No, I
because
know,
I
but
the ancient world was very sexist too.
well, that's the thing. But it's always they always relied on social hierarchical systems in their
Hmm.
politics. So
Hmm.
to be able to have a hierarchical system at all like that, that's controlled like that, you need to control population. So you're always going to need to control women
Well, you
in
have
that
to
aspect.
stratify. Yeah.
So the reason why it's a good to focus, I mean, I think it's good to focus on all national uh, uh, hierarchies, but for this time right now,
Hmm.
the feudalism, Europe's feudalism is what bored capitalism, and we are already in capitalism in present.
I
So that's
merely
why
meant
it's
to
really
say
important.
I merely meant to say that this is the latest chapter in a long story.
Oh yeah. Oh no. Yeah. No.
And we have to take this seriously because all of that shit can happen all over again. Yeah.
I think it has really with
Yeah.
the rise of transgender ideology. It's
Right.
really
This idea that
um,
progress is A, inevitable, and B, permanent.
yeah. And really, where's the trajectory? Like depending on where you're going, right? Who's controlling that trajectory is important because
Yeah.
what
Oh my
progress might be
God.
for someone else might be a lot different than what you would like because that
Hmm.
progress might rely on your subjugation and like your subordination
Right.
and oppression.
And the way
So
they get you is they offer you perks.
yeah, yeah. And a lot of it time too, it works because a lot of the oppression is expropriated to the like outside of the hub of empire, right? Like the
Yeah,
third
so you
world.
get the perks and you don't see a lot of that. Yeah, it's so weird.
Exactly. Like out of sight, out of mind kind of mentality, right?
Yeah, well, or out of sight, just out of sight. I mean, how are you supposed to know necessarily about something that's happening
Well,
in the
exactly.
outside
Out of
world?
sight, out of mind. You don't see it, you don't know about it.
Right. I guess I think of that as having forgotten about it, that you knew about it in the first
Well,
place. But
yeah. Close enough
that's
though.
that's the box of cookies. You know. Um. Yeah. I know you didn't just come by here and open that door. Excuse me. Did you do that one more time?
Oh my god, it's like a dinosaur.
What do you mean? Like,
Don't just run by here and open the door and disturb me. No. Rude, rude, rude. Not funny. Okay.
So yeah, patriarchy accumulation by Maria Mies is also a really, I think, almost necessary read for any feminist, really,
Mm-hmm.
because she, even though it was written a while ago, she still gives very valuable insights into how to like organize and
If you
how,
hit that nerve, then it'll be relevant now, as it was then, as
yeah.
ever.
Well, but it's not really a historical analysis like Caliban and the Witch. It
Uh-huh.
talks about analysis in the present.
Mm-hmm.
So even though it's a little bit older, it's still modern era and how to
What's
organize
fascinating
with
because
women
that's the
around
world
the
we were
world.
born into, right?
Yeah.
The world as it was when we came into it. That's worth hearing about.
Yeah, well, exactly. But you'd be
Oh
surprised
yeah.
how many people like generally will think that, oh, it's just too old and irrelevant now, which is ridiculous, crazy to me,
No,
right?
again, I'm writing a book that's set in the 19th century, and I'm considering what we're talking about from the Middle Ages and whatever background material. I don't understand, like, how are you gonna know? I truly can't even ask a cogent question about why you wouldn't understand, want to know about what happened before you were born. What?
Well, even just not even what happened, but like the political theory that like you supposedly stand like have been like worked up to you the point and you're with you don't even really want to consider it
Yeah.
like that like and take it legitimately serious at all because what now it's been like a few decades that it becomes
Yeah.
relevant. That's ridiculous. That means that you're just not really understanding where your position is even lying if it's built upon it.
No, and I mean, let's take this down to the individual level. Imagine you meet somebody. They were not born that day.
Yeah.
Don't you want to know maybe where they went to school? You know,
Yeah.
who their friends are, what they've done in their life, where they're from, you know, shit like that.
Yeah.
You don't
It
just go
also
along and be like, well, that's Pete. I met him Tuesday. And we hung out at the blah and that we went to the bookstore and that's all I know about Pete. But we're
well,
best
this
friends. What the
also
fuck?
has a lot to do, I think, my irritation with this perspective is that it makes it easy to manipulate the system. Makes it easier for them to manipulate you into believing certain things about political theory.
Because they can just tell you shit that's flat out not true.
This is my issue with people claiming cultural Marxism. Like, Marxism is just a critique of capitalism,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? It has nothing to do with culture.
It's I think that is a poorly understood metaphor, maybe. You know? I don't understand it myself, but it must be metaphor. It must be a metaphor, right?
No.
To be, I know a lot of people don't take it that way, but like, how did that phrase even become like in existence? Like,
through
someone
the
maybe applied it
through right wing,
metaphorically.
it's through right wing talking points. They believe that, and then they just make acclamations about what Marxists said
Oh,
and his
okay. So
school of
they
thought
just
without even understanding it, and then people take it as that being true, but they have never read it themselves.
right.
That's my issue, and that nobody knows. And then even you got a bunch of these neoliberal activists in queer theory and all that talking about being Marxist and stuff. They're just using it as an aesthetic. They don't even read it. They don't know about it. And it's like nobody does. And so everyone's just making shit up. And it's because no one like wants to go back and just like read it, which is just boggles my mind. It's like you if you don't agree with it, that's fine. But I have read it. So when you're talking this shit out of your ass, I'm like, where was that? Like, well, what are you talking about? That's not Marxist. Like, let's have a discussion then. But oh no, you haven't read it? You just you flipped through it and you saw something about nuclear family. Oh, so that means you must know what it meant. Because like you don't have to agree with his analysis, but like you need to at least have an idea what his analysis was. But you don't.
Right.
Because I have critiques on Marx. I think some of the things that he got completely wrong. But I can't have conversation about that if people don't read it themselves and know what I'm talking about. We're just talking at cross purposes at that point.
Yeah. Yep. It's like
And
having an argument with an urban legend.
some Michel Foucault, and my God, is it a lot to say about nothing?
I get that.
Same with Judith Butler. Same with Judith Butler. Same with like all of them. They just talk lots of frivolous, big words that don't actually make any logical sense together in like a sentence.
I will say she did me the favor of doing a whole lot of interviews, so I don't necessarily have to go read her books in order to understand that.
Oh, yeah. Well, you don't because it's just nothing. It's a big bang of nothing.
Listen to her talk and say, "Wow, that was gobbledygook."
Yeah, exactly. It is gobbledygook, like because a lot of people don't know what the words she's using if they're big and very academic. Like I know the words.
Unfortunately for her, A, I have a big vocabulary anyway, and B,
same here.
She's recorded, so I can pause that bitch and go look something up if I need to.
Exactly, but people don't want to look stupid, so they just go along as if she's spouting some wisdom. She's not.
Oh.
I have a big vocabulary too. She's not actually saying anything.
No, she's not. No, she's not. Okay, have I told you about my background? My parents met at a Mensa meeting.
Oh yeah,
which is that society for intelligent people that you have to take an IQ test to get into.
Ooh.
Which is not to say that I am super smart, but is this to say that I grew up in rooms full of people who wanted to show how smart they were. So that shit doesn't get to me so much. I'm not gonna say never, but for the most part, I'm like I see right through that shit.
Yeah. Well, my background's not the same, but my reason why I could tell is because my vocabulary is so big. Is because I read a lot of theory. So I have like if I don't know something, I will look up the word. And I'm older, so I know the words that they're using, and they don't make sense with each other when you put them together.
Right, or they do. A lot of times, her sentences will be like, okay, I can simplify that to da 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 da.
Yeah,
which is gibberish. What? Wait, did I miss something? I had the same experience with Ayn Rand, incidentally. The thesis of her Atlas Shrugged is when all of the great individuals unite for their own common cause. I'm like, wait a minute. What?
Yeah. The burden of the Atlas, the Atlas, and then the burden of the people is that the shrug, like.
No, but so they acquire class consciousness. That's what they do.
They are class conscious. Of course they are. They know exactly what
they enact their class, these grand individuals. It's all supposed to be about the grand individual and how important they are. So they all unite as a class. I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, they do though. They're an elite class.
No,
they are very class conscious.
It's fucking stupid philosophically.
I know.
Is my point.
And
they're all grand individuals working together.
What good Atlas Shrugged as a book is used for is toilet paper.
I had that moment. I had a moment when I was looking into that a while back. I'm like, wait a minute. I missed something, right? The very concept of this novel cannot be self-contradictory, right?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
It's 800 pages long.
That's what happens when you do copious amounts of meth. She was at it.
Also, I think that she's one of those ones who's like, and this is not to be like the sociopath, those people who don't like inherently understand the social contract and what that is.
No, yeah, I know. A sociopath doesn't. A psychopath knows.
Okay, but so you look at her talk about altruism, and that's her trying to understand why other people do what they do, and explain why she doesn't want to, and why she thinks dumb. I'm just like, this is a person with no conscience trying to understand the people around her.
Yeah, it's so true. Maybe she would if she wasn't so high on meth, though. Like, seriously? Some of the funniest things are...
No, that's another thing, is that people like that are usually sensation seekers, and they're often drug addicts, so that's funny.
Yeah, no, that is funny. No wonder she wrote such a heavy, like, big, like, book. Like,
It's funny, because Kerouac was always high on speed, and his books go like that.
really interesting.
Yeah.
And I know, to bring up this guy again, Sigmund Freud, he was like a massive cokehead too.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. What is it with those people in their uppers, man?
right?
That's the lady puffing on her nicotine, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah, nicotine. As I'm having a
it's
smoke
not
too. I'm having a
quite
smoke.
in the same league. Like, I can't smoke myself into a frenzy. You know what I mean? Like, that doesn't
Yeah.
work.
I mean, I don't know what would happen to me if I did. I'm already frenzied enough when I'm talking about something I'm
Right.
passionate about.
You're right. You're right. You're right.
I can't imagine.
Well, and the danger is that it would just be incoherent, you know.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
maybe it's better when it's incoherent, because then you know they're a babbling crazy person.
I mean,
Right?
this
Like,
really
if
lends
Ayn
to
Rand
maybe
were incoherent, nobody would
Michel
remember her.
Foucault being a junkie himself without us knowing, because there's
Right,
babbling.
yeah, they hide it. Imagine if those people were, gibbering like they should be. Then everybody
Yeah.
would ignore them and we wouldn't know who they are.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, because it is really gibberish what, like, a lot of Foucauldian queer theory people that came out of that sort of era and try to philosophize on it. A lot of it, I'm just like, you're just high.
Yeah.
You're just really
Yeah. Well, and and I've encountered this in life, where it's this thing where it's a sort of a social way of thinking where, like, the best argument is the one that makes the neatest circle.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wait, no, that's not how that works. That's not how that works at all. Here's what you did, but that's not no.
What I hate about that the whole queer theory movement too, postmodernism, is just it's so elitist in its language. Like, when they try to talk to each other, they're just talking out of their ass. But it's like, you're supposed to be talking and to regular people. Like, why are you even
Yeah.
trying to, like, you should, like, talk their language. You should use simplified words.
Yeah, and this brings me back to my novel, because everything brings me back to my novel. But I'm, like, it's set 150 fucking years ago, and I'm not here to teach people old timey slang. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I want it to be readable, and that is my main goal.
Yeah.
Is
Exactly.
all the messaging and all the characterization and all the setting and blah 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 blah. But if it's not readable, if it's not entertaining, I've failed.
Like, for me,
Which, considering the subject matter, is sort of a challenge, but
I've been to certain Zoom sort of talking points from universities where they'll have, like, anyone could go in and talk. And this was a while ago, but I would go in, and because it'd be Marxist queer kind of theory, right?
yeah,
And I'd be
yeah.
like, okay, I'm gonna go in and I'm going to discuss things with them. And I would always get kicked out. I was like told that, like, I'm instigator, and all it took was me being like, it's very elitist when you're talking in these superfluous words that people don't understand. The regular people, you need to, like, but you want people to understand you. Well, they're not going to understand you if you keep, like, being inconspicuous with this kind of language where they're not going to know what you're talking about. Like, and for me, I know the words you're talking about and they don't make sense. Can you, like, simplify it? Because maybe it's just we're talking across purposes. Like, talk to us like a regular person. Your theory should be able to withstand that.
Yeah, that
Like,
was a while ago, wasn't it? Because they don't care.
no, yeah, this was a while ago. Then I just stopped, like, trying to even bother. Right, this was a while ago. This was like back. Have to be like around 2015, maybe 16.
Which is
Around
the
when I
kind of thing that
tried to do
makes
that.
me angry that Elon Musk is talking about mind viruses, because what else do you call that? And you have a whole room full of people who are just like, no, X, Y, blah, blah.
X, Y, blah, blah.
Yeah, and you're just like, who haven't read the shit that they're talking about.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
not one person, it's 100 of them. And, like, what do you call that?
Yeah.
They've
It
clearly
is.
contracted something from one another there.
venereal diseases.
And I hate, bro. Yeah,
Chlamydia. It's chlamydia.
of course.
Sorry.
Wish that it were that simple.
But
You can
like what?
inoculate people against those. Oh wait, that's falling out of fashion. Louisiana legitimately was like, "Nah, we're not going to vaccinate people en masse anymore."
Yeah.
Uh, uh, we are witnessing the downfall of civilization. Um,
Well, part of the problem, they really of the system, they really try to obfuscate real criticisms and associate them with something else so that it kind of hides people's concerns. Like um being called like personally for me, like the COVID, I didn't get a shot because one, I'm healthy and I like it doesn't bother me. But then you get people saying, "Well, this means anti-vaxxers." I'm not an
that's not what
anti-vaccination.
I'm talking about.
No, but I know I'm saying like kind of like in relation. So what it does is they try like a lot of the times like say cultural Marxism, a lot of the right wing and all that will like try to like take sort of criticism or idea and associate it with something else.
Vaccinating toddlers against measles is cultural Marxism.
No, that is something that they want to actually like. This is a liberal part where they do is that they want to associate it with something like that as being what it means when I say, well, I don't think I should get, say, COVID. Well, then you're an anti-vaxxer. That means the measles
Right.
child and all that. Well, it's like, no,
Right.
I'm vaccinated for that, and so is my kid, and he goes through all of
Right.
his vaccination shots. So what are you talking about? But then
Right.
the association, it's the same with cultural Marxism. Well, if you're a Marxist, you're the queer theory hoop-de-loo, like, that's what Marxism is.
Oh
Right?
wow, which is really dangerous because there goes Marxism down the tubes with something that makes no fucking
Exactly.
sense.
That's why everyone points at them because it legitimizes the right wing aspect, and it also legitimizes the liberal aspect if they associate with it.
Well, it's
But
that forced teaming they
neither
love to
camp
do.
has actually decided to go look at the damn thing, and so neither of them are correct. And so it
Yeah.
obfuscates the actual reality of it, and it erases it from existence. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Off the event horizon, yeah.
yeah. That's what I meant.
Well, no, I mean, so it's there, but you can't see that shit like the other side of the fucking planet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And this is what I've been watching happen. We were talking about this, I think, the other day too. Gender criticism.
yeah.
It's that forced teaming they love to do.
Yes, yes, the forced teaming. So you're associated with something that you might not be with,
And it's
right?
caused me to question so many of my own, internal associations.
Yeah, yeah. Because and that's the thing. People seem to think too. A lot of them, a lot of the time, especially neoliberals, they think that they're too smart to be propagandized. That they won't fall for it. They don't question their theories or their beliefs in any
All
way.
right,
They're
right,
not
right,
like,
right, 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 right. There, okay. Propaganda is one of my favorite things lately too, because that's called storytelling.
yeah,
All right.
oh
Every
yeah,
story you've ever heard that had any kind of emotional content to it at all, that was propaganda. And the
yeah,
only time it's a problem is when it's used to like destroy shit.
yeah. By the state or by an
But
institutional
so
sort.
this
Yeah,
is one of humanity's most important visceral abilities that's been turned against us. Okay, so I'm not
yes,
just going to sit
yeah.
here and be like propaganda is bad. No,
No, I'm not saying
no,
that, but I'm not
no,
saying
no.
a
I'm not
full
saying you
on
were,
as
but
a
that is
whole.
I
I'm not
hear
saying as a
that.
whole. I'm not saying as a whole. I propagandize when I
Yeah,
read out a theory like we did today.
yeah,
So, but
yeah.
I'm talking about it as used by the state,
No, I know,
right?
I know. I wish we had another word
Right? Right?
because that shit is targeted
Again,
and
association, right? Association. When you hear that word, it means bad. See,
yeah,
I even right now fell right into that by just using
yeah.
that word and not describing what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when in use of the state for the state.
Some lady wrote something sometime about like the limits of language or something. I don't remember the quote. It was Andrea Dworkin, by the way. I do know that, but I don't remember the quote about how language itself, is patriarchal and limiting and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, even the way that words are used to describe like the differentiations, like say like say actress and actor is
yeah.
even like really it creates a dichotomy and makes one feminized and one
Well,
masculinized.
see, and that actually, I wonder about that. And this is probably a less important question than many. But, I mean, do we really want to make all of them actors?
I really don't care.
See, I know. That's what I'm saying. It's a less important question. But these little linguistic, they condense into the sea in which we swim,
Yeah.
you know? And it's these little droplets sometimes. I like to pick them up and sort of look at them. And that's one, why can't we have a female version of a noun? Why can't we have that? Why does everybody have to be the
Well, it's
masculine
not that we
version? That
can't
pisses me.
have that. It's the fact that we already are on a hierarchical system. So one necessitates a subordination, one dominant. Because in the
Right.
cultural that we live in at the present, we'll always do that no matter what you separate it with.
Right. It points to, like, the reason that it's a problem points right back to that.
Yep, exactly. That's why I
It's
usually
one of
don't
those
really
things
talk
that to
about
me
that
is a
too much.
sign marker that points directly to that.
Yeah.
Actresses don't mind being called actors, but call an actor an actress and woo.
And yeah, it is like gross. Like, it's inferior. It designates an inferior position. Yeah.
So we're
That's
not
why I'm
allowed to
not really
actually be
too.
women.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
by
it's because we're
being
not. It's
female.
seen on a very unjustified hierarchy of subordination and
Mhm.
domination, whereas we're not seen as human beings.
Right.
That's the thing. Yeah, we're
Right.
just
If you admit that
objects.
you're a woman, you're admitting you're not human, which makes male the
Yeah, you're,
default, which is the thing I've been railing against all these years.
and which again, gender theory really embodies because you have women trying to escape that.
I loved what she said about Foucault, just like amalgamizing the male and female experience into this one, which of course in his mind is masculine
Exact. Yeah.
thing.
Yep. Because that's exactly like, yeah, and that's completely ignores like a really huge historical like event, which is the witch burnings, which happened all throughout Europe for like centuries.
I love how people are like, and some men, yes, but it was about the oppression of women. They got caught
Right.
up in it. Sucks to be
Right.
them.
and
Not
and,
the fucking point.
and you don't see the same sort of same, like you don't really see the same with like racism. Like you don't usually see, at least in my mind, maybe it is when it
That's
comes to
true,
like,
you
well,
don't.
white
You
people
never.
also, but
White
like
people died in the civil rights movement too. You're right. You never fucking hear that.
you'll never hear that. Maybe there's some people, but I really
I've
not. It's
never
not
heard that.
acceptable, but it's totally acceptable to do that for women,
Yeah.
which is weird,
Oh, it's
right?
wild. Oh, it's weird. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Oh,
But of course, with this whole critical race theory sort of coming into play, it might start to be that way because that's where it's headed. Because critical race theory is not about
oh, oh, oh,
actual
oh. So now all of a sudden we're going to be talking about the white people in the civil rights movement. I got you.
and it's legit because yeah, well, if you have like a lot of the newer critical race theory is so bad, so bad,
Like,
and it's not like the
there's
same
something
as
else I
like
haven't read.
it's bad, it's bad.
You
It's
sure?
basically what it comes down to is that racism is internal and based on your race. Yeah, it naturalizes it as if it's something that is inherent. Yeah, it's
That
so bad.
sounds
It's like
familiar. That sounds really familiar.
kind of sounds like racism, doesn't it?
Sexism.
Yeah, exactly. That too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How women aren't seen as inferior. We just kind of are.
yeah. And so
Yeah.
like it might start turning out where the similarities will
The
really start to
races.
compete. But
So racism isn't taught. The races aren't taught to be antagonistic towards one another. They just are.
yeah,
Nice. Nice.
that's what
You know what?
critical race theory is. And it's like
Oh,
Robin DiAngelo is a white bitch. Why are you listening to her?
that's a good question. I would ask the biracial people how they feel about this.
Yeah. And this is not the same thing as like what they were teaching back in the 70s with the civil rights movement and even the Black liberation struggle movement.
No.
Um, it's not, it's about, it's taught. It's taught environmental and cultural, like femininity is taught to women,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
We're not
yeah.
internally feminine. It's external and it's imposed. The same thing with
Yeah.
race. How?
Right.
Because like seriously, how is it melanin, for example, changes your like internal thought processes? That makes no sense. And so, because racism, the whole idea of race is believing in racism, because there are not different races. There's no Homo neanderthal walking around.
Right. Race is a fiction. Sex is
Exactly.
real. I mean,
Sex is real, and
uh,
ethnicity is real. Ethnicity is real.
Oh yeah.
Race is socially constructed, just like gender is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And what the critical race theory is doing is internalizing race as being natural.
The way they've done with gender.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
So it's got a lot of similarities, which is very telling, considering this is what is necessary. The subjugation of peoples is necessary for capitalism. For imperialism, which is to go and remove people off the land that they own to take for themselves. So it's built into the system. And same with sex, because you need to always reproduce workers.
Yeah.
So it's just funny how it's just accumulating back around in very similar ways with the internalization of gender and race.
But it's driven by the same things.
Yep.
And this goes back to what I was saying about patriarchy in general. It doesn't have to be some grand conspiracy where they all meet at some
not.
lodge.
It's because it's necessarily built into the system.
They have the same goals.
Yep.
So arrive at similar ways of getting them.
Yep.
Under similar conditions, it's not that hard. It's not that complicated.
It's not, but they've made it. A lot of people made it complicated and obfuscated, and now erased a lot of the history that was taught back in like the 70s and stuff like that.
Right.
It's like a lot of the information has been lost. It seems like.
Oh,
I mean, it's there, but no one looks at it.
No, see, and I think the digital revolution has had a large hand in that.
Yeah.
Because if you missed that boat, you got left behind.
Mm-hmm.
Either as a person or as a book.
Yeah.
Alfalfa says it's why the transracial versus transgender argument doesn't make sense. Again, I take that as a metaphor, but maybe I'm just thinking too metaphorically about stuff. What is it, baby?
I need to be in here for a few minutes.
No, you don't need to be in here for a few minutes. No. Go and leave me be until I'm done. I love you. We'll play together this afternoon, okay? We'll do a hard level. We'll do the sand level. Go on. Scoot.
Mom.
What?
See me if I watch me YouTube.
Only at your brother's discretion. Which means you have to have your brother, help you pick the videos.
What if he's not in the room?
Where is he?
I don't know.
Then I guess you have to wait.
That's funny.
Yeah. I gotta close
This is why my baby's my cat doesn't have. I'm glad that doesn't have arms and stuff. She can't. She can't force open the door.
And yours is at school, I'm sure.
No, actually, he's upstairs in bed. He's sick today.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. He's got the sniffles.
Yeah. It's going around. I feel like crap myself this week. But hey, the show must go on. This shit is important.
Yeah. I did have a lot of fun. It was hard. It was rough goings there for a while, though. Because you were really breaking up. It was just like all I could hear was when you're speaking and you're trying to ask me a question. Now I'm like, I have no clue what you're talking about.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. I like this app. I like the YouTube much better. Like I think the Riverside is way too problematic.
Yep. I can't believe I can't use the PC. That's what I have the computer for. But it's all right.
Yeah.
So. Or I could go on all day, really. This is so much fun.
How long what do you think? I wasn't paying attention to the time. How long was it for me just even talking, like, when it comes to the chapters, like reading?
Overall, excluding breaks, I think it took about an hour.
Okay. That's good.
So, which gives us the second hour for discussion and whatever.
Yeah. So I'm going to try to keep it to the same sort of amount that I got here.
And this
for the
is
next
dense
chapter because the
material.
next chapter has like a ton of like sub chapters.
Oh
in it.
boy. This
Like-
is dense material, so we should probably take it in small chunks anyway.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do the same amount for what we did for the preface and introduction,
Mhm.
just and chop it up into sections because it's it'll be
Yeah.
way too much.
Do it. Yeah. Perfect.
But I can't wait to get in on this. Like this is gonna be so
Yes.
fun.
Oh my god.
My issue a lot too is trying to have discussions with people on theories on basis that I've things that I've read,
Mhm.
and then having nobody know what the hell I'm talking about because they haven't read it.
So you're you're fed up. You're like, fine, I'll read it for you.
Right? That's my goal. I was like, I'll come on here and I'll read it to you, and then we can discuss finally what we're talking about.
And you're doing good work. You know that you're doing the good work.
Yeah.
It's not just for us. It's for anybody who happens upon this, or everybody who's
Yeah.
here with us. Hi guys, ladies, women's. I hate words.
The 3 people that are here.
It was 5 a second ago. Whatever. We have 4 likes, and
Yay.
this is so much more fun than making a video and talking to myself for a day and a half.
Yeah. Well, it takes a lot of time to edit, to like make an essay, write out an essay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. This is so
Yeah.
much. And then the talking to myself for a day and a half is the editing process, is what I was thinking of, like recording and then editing.
Yeah.
And everything. Oh my god, it's so painful. I never watch any of my old videos because I've already watched them 50 fucking times.
Yeah. And soon, I don't know. Yeah, I probably didn't say this yet. I am going to be obtaining a better mic for my phone.
Yeah.
So it'll be less sort of whatever it is now. It'll be more crisp and nicely sounding. And so, yeah.
This is
So
just
that
my
will
phone microphone too.
Yeah, just my microphone. But it'll be nice and crisp. I want to be able to do that because my voice is very raspy.
Mm.
Kind of a voice, and I find it to be annoying. Like I don't like to hear myself talk.
Well, nobody likes to hear themselves talk.
Yeah, but I find it to be
irritating.
irritating, and I'm hoping the microphone is going to sort of clear up so that any background noises and make my sound more crisp and easier to interpret what I'm saying.
If we ever make any money, I'll buy you an equalizer so you can bump up that mid bass. Make yourself sound really rich and creamy.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I will take that. Because I hate going back and listening to myself on recording. I've done interviews and stuff like that before with like little radio stations, like local stuff like that. And I hate the sound of my voice. I hate the sound. I never like to listen to me talk. So I'm so happy that other people might like to listen, but I don't like to hear my voice.
Well, you know, it's just because we all sound different to ourselves, right? I mean,
we do, yeah.
Yeah. You don't hear yourself outside your head. You hear yourself with the resonance in your skull.
Brain. Yeah.
So then, yeah, the recording is always like, is that what it sound like? Oh my god.
Yeah. You're like, oh, no.
Yes, everybody gets that. I sound like a little girl.
No, you don't.
In real life. Well, compared to what I sound like in here, I do.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, that's true. But you don't. You don't from my ears, from my perspective.
Thank you. That's good.
Yeah. I have to remember not to laugh so loud because I've got I use my diaphragm a lot.
Yeah.
Because you will know because if you've done vocals, you use your diaphragm, right? When you're singing musical numbers or whatever. And I still use it. So sometimes when I'm laughing, it's like this very boisterous laugh.
Yes. Or the bounce.
Yeah.
You know? And you're like, oh my god, I sounded like a cartoon character just now.
Right?
Oh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways.
We gotta keep our decorum. On point. Yes.
Right. Absolutely. Right. Which is so hard for me to do. Especially when I get into talking about like politics and theory and all that.
Yeah. No, I'm joking, by the way. This is not a place where we have to keep our decorum at all, really. I mean,
well, somewhat. Like I can't.
Yeah.
I also have to remember not to like swear a lot or be very vulgar because I can be.
Because
I don't know, because YouTube might actually strike you.
I guess. I mean, we're 2 hours deep into a live that 10 people are gonna watch. Hi. So, but I don't know. I stopped worrying about that shit for the most part. They literally have only dinged me for a couple of bullshit copyright things.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. And perhaps it is just because I have been blessed by invisibility.
Well, you've seen how many times I get shadow banned in your chat before.
Yeah, that is weird.
So it might not get dinged, but you be shadow banned more and not have your video come up if things are said in a particular way.
I need to go back and tag these after we do them so they do show up in anything ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But even if just a few people, enjoy the readings, that'd be great. Because I do miss Benji's little read-along sessions that she had.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the books that she did, I didn't have. Which is crazy to think about because I have like a whole library full of books for like that, political books and all that different stuff. So yeah. Except for
I realized she wasn't doing that anymore.
Yeah, I came from more of like the way I got into feminist theory is being anti-war, right, and anti-imperialist, right. So I've got a lot more. I got like a ton more imperialism and all that. So, and war as well when it comes to foreign policies and stuff. So
I'm so happy that sounds really weird, but I'm so happy that they're the same thing.
Yeah.
So I don't have to choose,
Well, that's the thing too. I find a little bit off-putting when it comes to some feminism and some feminists is that they don't. Okay, the point I think for myself for feminism, you have to interweave it into the different understandings of imperialism, of racism, and the whole and foreign policy, all of the capitalism, all of that. Whereas you'll get a lot of almost like cultural feminists where they just want to stick strictly on the whole cultural aspect of feminism.
Oh, like
where they don't look into like the relation between capitalism, between racism, between imperialism. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like you have to. It's like, well, it's a movement for women. Only it's like, yeah, but women also live in imperialism. They live with racism. They live like this. It's important to
women are everywhere.
Yeah, right.
Everywhere.
And because if you only focus on the women issue completely, you're going to have a bias where you're not going to focus on what it is like for women living under imperialism from, like, say, the third world. Like, it starts to get very almost elitist.
Well, it all leads right back to the same damn thing, okay? Because who set up the imperialism in the third world? Who
Yeah, right.
Is responsible for perpetuating that, introducing it, even.
Exactly. It's important to look, and then so if you need, and if it's not there, if there's not much that you can find when it has the theory through perspective of women, then make your own theory by reading other works on imperialism, and then you can like have a better understanding of like women's place in it because you are a woman. And that I have found issues when it comes to that aspect of feminist spaces that I have been in, where and then the whole aspect of this whole, I'm gonna get so divisive.
Do it. We love it. We love it. Agree to disagree. That's the one rule, remember?
The aspect when it comes to the whole Gaza and Israel thing. Really?
Now you are going to get me shadow banned.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
I told you my view on that. I don't have a side in that. I think that whole thing is stupid.
Well, my
issue... simplistic, I acknowledge that.
Yeah. Well, my issue is the amount of Zionist so-called women, and not just women that just came in because of the transgender issue, but feminists that I'd known beforehand that used to have more of a radical politic, right? Who have gotten sort of swept up in this sort of right-wing grift because pro-Israel is very right-wing.
Well, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Because I mean, it's an imperialist proxy state. I mean, these people are not from this area, like, and they're offering it and like forcing out the people that that do have ethnic ties to that area. They're Ashkenazi Jews. That means that they're European. They're white.
Right.
They don't come from there. Their ancestors are the ones that got converted to Judaism. They're secular. And they're European. They're not like, or else they're the whitest Middle Easterns I've ever encountered. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so, and then this whole demonization of like, is I'm critical of Islam, obviously as a religion, but they're using it as a focus for people, on brown people, and they use Islam to to hide and obfuscate the racism there. Because obviously, if you just look at it, you could tell that these people are not ethically from this region.
Yeah.
Like, why are they white as rice? Like, you have to ask for that. What are you talking about? They deserve their own land from where they came from. They're not from there. And the whole fact that they are the only reason why they even Israel exists was because they collaborated with the Nazis. They have a medallion to commemorate that has a Star of David on one side and the swastika on the other. The agreement is in their museum in Jerusalem, so it's not like they don't know about it. They are proud of their collaboration with Nazis. Like, yeah. Benjamin Netanyahu, his grandfather was in Mussolini's party.
You and I are not from this region either, says James.
Yeah,
That's
we're
true.
not. And that we're not. And that's why it's important to recognize that. I've been on a lot of groups and stuff with a lot of the unceded territory of native nations that are trying to oppose the encroachment on their land. And I've had a lot of experiences of the state trying to perpetrate violence against, like, we have a highway called the Highway of Tears because of the amount of women that have been taken and just trafficked or like killed on, like, so many of them. And they're now trying to encroach on them because they've got so much resources there. And so, yeah, I think it's important to acknowledge that we're not ethnically from here either, and that we should be standing in relations with the people that have.
At least you still have them.
Yeah.
Around here, they're pretty much gone.
Yeah, well, you got the reservations and stuff like that, which is in a desolate conditions.
Like, again, I don't think around here.
I don't know where in Tennessee, but I know different places of reservations on America.
I've thought about this, and I've probably mentioned it on the channel before. There's a whole lot of stuff around here named after the Cherokee.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not here.
I know. What's even more disgusting is that they name things like Black Hawk, their helicopters and stuff like that. These are like native terms that they're using for war machines.
Yeah, yeah. It's just giving it the finger.
Right?
You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. It is giving it the finger. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
On a good note, Leonard Peltier has been released.
Oh, yeah.
He was a political prisoner from the American Indian movement in the 70s.
I think you're the one who told me about that the other day.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, he's in bad health, but I'm glad he at least got out.
Yeah. Well, you know, things aren't all bad.
Yeah.
I guess if they were, we wouldn't be sitting here talking about it.
Yeah.
None in Tennessee and Kentucky, says Alfalfa. That's what I'm saying. I would love to go and help them, but I cannot reach them. I literally, physically cannot fucking reach them. Really, only large federal reservation in the middle of South is Eastern Band of Cherokee. Okay, and those are probably the people who used to be here, just at a guess.
Oh, yeah, because they've taken swaths of different nations and put them in certain areas and then keep moving them and then just put, like, different uranium mines and tail waste from that. And then
just whole groups of people that are just gone.
Yeah. Well, in Canada, we've got a lot of nations still living, but they are in areas that have been. What we do is we put all the toxic waste our industries use and put them in their reservations, and now they're suffering. They can't drink the water. They're suffering from uranium poisoning. Like, there was a mine that tail with the toxic tail sludge that they have for mining, right? That broke, and it just devastated and just broke all into their area, like, as it flooded. The toxic, sludge waste that it creates, mining. Yeah, and their whole area, and they have nowhere to go, right? And when it comes to on the west coast of Canada, a lot of that territory is unceded, meaning that they didn't sign and didn't have any sort of, they didn't sign anything about land and territory. Like they didn't make any contracts with the government. So that technically that's not part of Canada. They haven't given it up yet. But you never would notice because in Canada or in every other map, even in the UN, it shows it a part of Canada, but it's unceded territories. That's theirs.
Wow.
Yeah, people don't know about that.
It's amazing that you've read about all of these things. Some of those awful things, I just would get about a few lines into and just be like, and I gotta put this
I've
down. I'm
read
gonna
some
throw up.
devastating accounts from a lot of different people, especially like say in South America, like the different Contras and the attack on Argentina. Like it's been like it's bad. Like it's bad the things that they like the different sort of torture mechanisms that they've put forth
Yeah.
from the military to on the populace, but have been like enslaved. Yeah, after the different coups, it's really hard to read and to like know, but I think it's important
It is.
because then it gives you it really puts you back down to earth about how dangerous the state as in itself really is.
Right. I don't have the stomach for it. It's good that people like you do.
Yeah,
I know I get to on the other hand, I get to a certain point where I understand that is all bad.
yeah.
And I'm
Well,
opposed to it.
I also think it's important so that people don't get this idea that it's because you don't really see it because again, it's been exported. That violence has been so exported that
Yeah.
people don't give enough weight to like the violence of the state or what it can do. But it's starting to accumulate now, especially what's been happening with like um in Europe, especially in like Germany and all that. They've been like arresting independent journalists. They've been like I just watched a protest where in Germany where a bunch of because an 11-year-old decided to wave a Palestinian flag in the middle of a speech for Palestinians. A SWAT team of cops came and ran him down, blocked everyone from getting to him, and threw him in the back of the police car. He's scared, obviously. He's an 11-year-old kid. And I know that, I forget his name, there's a journalist that just got arrested again because he's been reporting on what has been going on in the war zone. But first by like I think it was German police, then Swiss police. I'm not too sure. So don't quote me on exactly the places and stuff. But there's a bunch of people that are and then the crackdown on free speech. And the thing, even if you don't agree with what they're saying, it doesn't matter. Free speech is free speech for all, even to those who you disagree with. So you have to let them protest. It doesn't matter if you don't like it, then make up your own protest and do another counter protest.
Well, and that's a
But
very American or Canadian, North American, I guess. That's a very us way of looking at that.
what?
I know that, well, in Germany, their free speech laws have had a big fat hole in them for a long
Oh
time.
yeah. But it's same with Canada. It's the same with Canada. Ours is more
Okay.
like the European system. You guys got a really good, solid First Amendment right.
But you basically just outlined it.
Yeah.
The way it functions, anyway. You don't like what
Well,
they're saying? Well, say what you want then.
yeah. Well, that's what freedom of speech is. But yeah, you're right that the European laws and Canadian as well don't have a First Amendment as solid as the Americans. But that's how it should be. If you're not, if you make the claim that you're for freedom of speech, then it's not about what side you agreed with. Liberals do the same thing too. They say you can't like the cancellation thing, right?
Yeah. No, and you want to go back to forced teaming. Something insidious that I heard about that's been going on in Britain is that they've associated the phrase free speech with like the right wing.
Yeah.
That if you're agitating about free speech, it's because you want to say something awful.
Yeah. Well, that's the liberals' way of like, trying to crack down on free speech. But the right does the same damn thing because now that Trump's been in power and that he's been really gung ho, he's saying he's going to deport anyone that are protesting for Palestine on universities and deport them, even if they have a green card. That's part of his executive order.
No, I understand. I'm sorry. That was a stupid practical question. Where's he going to send all these kids? What is it? What?
They've opened up Guantanamo Bay for it.
They're going to send
Just that
college students to Guantanamo Bay.
deportation. They already started any sort of migrants, even if they are legal. But
No,
like,
I know.
I know it's the same thing with the students that are protesting.
Okay.
They're going to.
But sending, forgive me, I don't believe this, but I have a feeling that migrants are one thing and college kids are going to be something else.
No, that's going to be all put the same because they're deporting them because they're usually have a green card that are here.
Right.
So it's going to be illegal.
Republic.
So there's going to be a crime to do the protest. And if you make it a crime, then it's going to be like, okay, now we have to deport you.
Right.
So even though they're not similar, they're kind of like squishing them all together.
No, but what I'm saying is that from an optics standpoint.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I'm sorry.
It's people. A lot of people don't even realize he made that order.
Insane.
Yeah, it does. But lots of people are not even reporting on it.
Oh. Right.
Like, oh yeah. People have to know about it before they actually get, incited to anger.
Yeah.
So like, but that even with that, like, and they're having universities have like sent and colleges have sent out memos about snitches. Like if you know anyone who has been on protesting and you get their identity, come to us so that we and they're really putting out this like so free speech is really on both sides is just not compatible. It just depends on the ideology. If you're for free speech, you're for free speech for all, even with those you disagree with.
Oh, yeah. No, I've said this before. I think that the people with the stupid ideas should come out and tell us all about them so that we can
Exactly. That's how you disengage hate speech, is that you have your own speech. Yeah. Because, or like, if you think that your side is so viable and truthful and honest and has legitimate points, then it should be no problem for you to express them.
And the cycle repeats later, says Alfalfa. Yeah, totally. But so, like, come out here and tell me your ideas, and I will tell you why they're stupid.
Exactly. Why it doesn't work. Why it doesn't make sense. Exactly.
Whatever. It's all about the free market for goods, not ideas.
Right?
Because they would lose.
Yeah.
So fast.
Yeah. Well, that's why they got to contain any actual free speech. They're not. So the right wing are not for free speech, but they're not for. What they're for is just limiting liberal speech or not just liberal speech, but like limiting speech that goes against what they believe, which is again just what neoliberal does. They do the same thing with their cancellations. So like you guys are the same coin, two sides of the same coin.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. Maybe this is my own perspective, but the idea that the right wing is pro free speech, these are the people who want to tell you who you can marry.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. They're not pro free anything. What are you talking free market? But besides that, no.
And
no,
like this just goes to the point, remember?
Huh?
Do you remember what I sent you that video where there was an internal forum where the IRC was actually which is the Republican Party lobbyists actually going outward and funding transgender shit, but
and I'm not surprised by that at all.
Which I'm not surprised, but it just shows you that they're working for the same fucking goal as like the neoliberals.
Okay, I think, which I guess is to suck the life out of the left, because that was the goal there.
Yeah,
was to send out all of these was to
be disruptive
from the inside.
Yeah,
to give money to lefties, but only the crazy ones.
Yeah, and to get because it's disruptive, and they have them work with them. Yeah, and to be discrediting. Yeah.
To let them discredit themselves by, like I said, giving money to the crazy ones, essentially.
For all of you who don't know, there has been an internal report that's been come to light where it showcases a lot of the right-wing Republican lobbyists coming together and funding different transgender activists around globally to be disruptive of any sort of leftist movement, that because it's been found that it's very disruptive and it really like stagnates leftist causes. And so when we say, well, the right wing is really good on this whole gender shit, no, they're not. They're using it as a way to try to make to be disruptive of anyone who's got like sort of a class analysis.
Again, hello, the right wing is good on gender shit. Do you hear yourselves?
Exactly.
The
Well, some
right
people believe
wing,
that.
right? Once you barefoot pregnant and in the kitchen, good on
Exactly.
gender stuff. What the fuck are you talking about? They're willing to admit that women exist because they want us to make them a sandwich.
Exactly. Exactly. So people that are thinking that these people like that they've really progressed, they haven't. It's two sides of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin. They're both funding it. It's just that the neoliberals are doing it internally, while the Republicans are lobbying it out externally to
See, I
the
don't think
other
so.
places.
I don't think so. Honestly, if you want my honest opinion, I think all of liberal politics is astroturf by fucking oligarchs. If you want my honest opinion.
Yeah, no, that is true.
That's why
Yeah,
it's two
yeah.
sides of the same coin, because it's the same coin from the same fucking pocket.
Right? Exactly. I'm disagreement with you there. Like, it's astroturf shit. It's astroturf shit.
All of it.
And it all comes from the top. It is
It's
very much.
all hurting everyone in one direction, like from this massive funnel. Just poof.
Yep, exactly. Exactly.
So fucking bonkers. You know? And like, I love how people are like, oh, conspiracies don't happen because you expect me to believe all those people intelligently work together behind the scenes and it never leaked out and not one person ever said a thing.
They're
Yes.
class conscious. Yeah, elites are class
Yes, I
conscious.
do want
They
you to believe that.
understand.
You trying to tell conspiracies never happen? Have you met the Catholic Church?
Right?
What the fuck?
They are very class conscious. Elites are very class conscious. They are. They know that they're
Rose
too.
before hose. Okay.
It goes against their interest for people other to be class conscious, but they are very class conscious because they want to keep their power.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? If they have all the money in the world, why wouldn't they? It makes sense in their perspective to do that.
Yeah. They
And
can't like Elon Musk, by the way. He's such an ass and making them all look insane. I can't imagine they like him. Because these people are smart enough to stay out from in front of cameras, usually.
But he is one of the most richest men in the world, so he's just out. But the reason why is because he's got this weird inferiority complex to him where he wants to be the cool kid.
Oh,
That's the problem.
Oh, I know. But he's not one of them, ironically. Like, not really. There's no way he's invited to their cool kid meetings.
But he is.
Okay, because he has enough money. But like,
yeah,
I just feel like they must
but like
be working
he's like
against him
the one that you have to like sort of like contend with. Like you don't really want to be associated with it in public.
They're not going to fall in line behind that guy.
No, but they're working with him behind the scenes to have a techno feudalism.
They're going to
which
use
is what
them like
Trump
they use
really
everyone
wants.
else, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but no, they're working with him. Javier Milei from Argentina. They're like, what if you want to know what their plan is? Look towards Argentina and what Javier Milei has been up to, because that's where the trajectory is going. They are like they talk like Milei is so much like brown nosing Elon like so thoroughly, like he's looking for a place to stick shit all over his nose, and like that's the whole techno feudalism sort of aspirations. So and it's going horribly for Argentina right now because of it.
I just think if I were Elon Musk, I wouldn't trust anybody because all of those people are looking for a way to fleece him, right?
Well,
all of them.
I mean, Jeff Bezos, all of them have their own money. Like they really are just working together.
I understand that, but they just, I mean,
they don't really want to fleece them. They're just
if you're the shiniest, those people are all sharks.
Yeah.
And if you're the fattest shark, I don't know. It's just they all fight amongst one another.
No, I don't think they do. I don't think they do. I think they're class conscious. They work together.
Right.
They work together. And even if they don't like each other, they'll work together because it's in their own interests. But you don't see them together in public. That's the thing, because because Elon's such a dork. He's so like optically not, you don't want to be involved with that, but they'll be happy to work with him behind the scenes. They just don't want to be associated from the cameras.
Yeah. Because that's smart.
Yeah, why would you? Like, I wouldn't want to be associated with that.
No, but I guess, I mean, he's the new kid on the block, isn't he? I know he comes from money, but his family's not that.
Well, no, it's not really. They're all nepo babies, really, when you think about it. All their families were rich. That's why they were able to get even more rich.
And his family is like just wonderful people, I hear.
Oh yeah, from South Africa.
Yeah. There, we've come back around to that again. Hooray.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry I brought him up. I hate him.
Oh, I hate him too. I hate the way people are just praising him and like just fluffing his ego. I don't care if they're right wing
I've
or
been
MAGA
listening to
people.
that for
I'm just like, you
15
look
years.
really bad when you're fucking doing that. Like, stop blazing him. Stop
Well,
blazing his knob.
I swear to God, he first like tried to come sit at the cool kids table during the whole new atheist thing.
Yeah, he did.
That's when I first encountered him, and a lot of them were really like worshiping him because of all his tech innovations and whatever.
Yeah, right. His innovations. You mean the people that he paid?
Yeah.
Easy
So,
to fucking be like on top when you've already been on top because of your parents' money.
Yeah. Whatever. I don't want to sit on that pyramid anyway. Like I say, it's full of sharks.
It is.
We want something else, right? Something different.
Yeah.
And I think obviously excluding women's perspective in the construction of all of this is part of why it is the way it is.
Yeah, I do too. I think that it's necessary to understand these systems because we're in it now. Even if there was, like, historically speaking, a lot misogyny, with cultural misogyny in different systems, we're not in those systems now. Capitalism is globalized. So we really need to look at this system in particular, and from a female perspective.
Yeah.
So, because it's important. And I think that a lot of it's been lost even on the left. That's why it's so easy for them to think that trans women are women. Is because they don't see.
The left got bought decades ago.
And they never really saw women's issue as important to like the capitalist issue. Right. And it's important to bring it back to that aspect and why women are oppressed under capitalism in particular and the history of it. So that we can impart wisdom somewhat if we actually get listened to by these leftist bros, which is only going to be a task of itself.
I would settle for being listened to by some other women.
Yeah, me too. Because, like, I can't even, not all, I won't say all, but like, the men just don't want to listen. They don't want to care.
No, but they don't need to. I'm thinking really long scale here again. I'm thinking, we don't need these tech bros' permission to fix this because eventually they'll all be dead.
No. I'm talking about regular leftist men. I'm not talking about the tech bros. They can all burn in hell for all I care.
You don't need. Okay. I'm not necessarily worried about convincing an individual. I want to change the zeitgeist.
Well, that means you have to talk to the people to collectively change the zeitgeist.
But I don't have to talk to people. The ideas travel faster than people.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's one of the things I'm playing with my novel too, is that, you can bake these ideas into a form of entertainment in that case, and just media in this case. And
propaganda?
Yes.
Yes. Exactly.
Why should only the evil people get to use that power?
Yeah. No, it's funny because I mentioned actually using propaganda to our cause once. And I was at a meeting in Vancouver Rape Relief in the library in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And people looked at me with the strangest because I used the word propaganda. And I'm like, but not in the way that you think it.
Yeah. It calls to mind posters from the 1940s. It's scary.
Yeah. Like, there was lots of like agitation propaganda about the system, agitating the system, right?
Yeah.
And really being subversive by using our own propaganda based on truth rather than theirs, which is based on lies and subordination.
Right, which if you word it well is even more powerful.
Exactly, because it rings true to people. Yeah. It makes sense of the what is contradictory within the system.
Right. Have you heard of the concept of a truism? Which is something that's worded so well and so true that people forget where it even fucking comes from. Right? That's what I want. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about. That's the kind of slogans we need.
Yeah.
I'm working on it. I'm grinding away at my words over here. I'm trying. I'm trying to really sort of hone what exactly it is the fuck I want to offer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I could never write a book. I couldn't. I'm good at understanding theory, even in like propaganda in a good way, like from books. So, for example, like 1984, which is propaganda in itself, but in a good
You're right.
context.
Well, yeah. So one of the most successful
In an important
examples.
context,
I
I
love
could
that.
never come up with imagination enough to be
Life
able
goals,
to.
right? People reference that novel in everyday speech. They don't even realize they're doing it.
Yeah,
Life goals.
yeah,
Like for me, like seriously.
yeah, right. But I don't have the imagination to be able to write a whole book with a whole presentation behind it and motivation of good propaganda behind it. Like, I think that's just crazy. Fantastic. Because I couldn't do it. Like, I just,
I've
no.
seen so many examples of it done for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's so effective. You go
Yeah.
back to Ayn Rand, who is like my nemesis, and she's dead, so she'll never know that. But she died the year I was born. We never even occupied the planet at the same time. It's fun, right?
Yeah.
And yet she's had all this effect on my life. It sort of makes me mad, you know.
Well, that's why it's good. What's good to really comprehend human behaviorism, like the Skinner stuff, like when we watched Human
Yeah.
Resources, because
Yeah.
they have a really effective understanding of propaganda and how the mechanizations of it work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to counteract that, I think it is important to kind of look at what they understand, because they're already, that saying that they're on the shoulders of giants, because they've already got so much work behind them from
Yeah.
previous
But this work
understandings
is
that they
publicly available.
try to erase in the consciousness of the masses, but they
Right.
have for themselves. So it's always important to sort of look into that too. And I think behaviorism and the science behind it is important to understand, because that's how
Mhm.
propaganda works.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. If you know how the gears behind it work, then you can put on quite a show. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Which just takes me back to stagecraft. We have to build our set, you know?
yeah,
And that's really feminism's problem, is that we keep trying to build these sets, these frameworks, and they just come along and tear them down.
yeah. Well,
And
I mean,
and
that was the whole
reuse the
point.
pieces for other shit. And it's like, we were using that. What the fuck?
Well, I mean, that's what makes the state so dangerous, because a lot of state actors, such as Gloria Steinem,
Yeah.
CIA, yeah,
Yeah.
with the COINTELPRO, to think
Yeah.
that it just happened to the civil rights movement, it is ignoring the whole aspect of it
Absurd.
when it came to the feminist movement, because that's what they did. They liberalized it and they made it into like a pandering for the penis sort of movement when it comes to the
Yeah.
sexual freedom or whatever, that part
Right.
of the 60s and 70s. That was a total liberal thing, and only like the glass ceiling, and only looking at being in the workforce to be exploited, not
Yeah.
trying to be in the workforce or getting paid for their labor, and
We need to move
taking the
off.
money away from the actual institutions, but it's just to incorporate yourself into the institution to be exploited, which is as far as it went.
Yeah. So then you get the same perks as men have. Yay.
Yeah, and part of those perks are on the backs of other women who are not as privileged as you, such as in the third world,
Right.
in
But
the
so
division of
now
labor.
you have that dirty money and you don't want to look at that anymore.
Yeah, and it worked incredibly, because a lot of the feminist movement got torn apart and torn to pieces, and people don't even consider it now. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't consider it like an integral part of understanding capitalism and the state.
Which is just covering up women's contribution again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and stealing our ideas, because
Yeah, yeah. That's what I'm saying. We build a set piece and they're like, oh, we'll have that.
yeah, well, and then we're just gonna burn yours down after
Yeah.
we want them.
Yeah. And we'll cast you
Yeah,
in our show. We'll pay you good. It'll be fine.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm taking the theater metaphor a little far, maybe, but
No, that's okay. Um, yeah, because there was like a lot of like her work, like with Now, I think it was, which was like
oh,
CIA
yeah.
funded organizations to go abroad. It was
I
backed
love
by the US aid
I
and
loved her
NEDs.
interview about that. That was so funny. She literally sat there and tried to say, yeah, but the CIA are some pretty hip guys. Nobody really knows that, but
I know. Thanks
and
for
it's just like, girl,
legitimizing everything.
I'm
But
not buying it, honey.
there
I'm
was
not buying
pushback,
it.
like say from the Red Stockings. The Red Stockings had issue with Gloria Steinem. Like there was feminists that like really went in and be like, we need to cut that bitch off. And
Yeah.
but you don't hear from it nowadays, usually because it's been so lost to history.
Yeah.
I
Well,
love
I
having
guess I'm
political
saying, as
talk.
far as changing the zeitgeist, I don't expect it to be quick.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say this, but I'm almost to a point where I'm. It's not like I've given up, but I've
Are
got
you still
no.
there?
Oh,
Oh
I'm
my
still here.
God, say that again. I'm sorry. My alarm to go pick up my kid from school just went off. So
Oh,
please say that again.
no, I said I don't want to seem like I've given up because that's not entirely true. But the reason why I'm so cynical is just because I just don't. It's been so thoroughly thrashed that it's hard for me to even like comprehend like a way out.
Yeah.
And like it's very I'm cynical for a reason.
And I don't begrudge you your cynicism at all. I hold out hope, like I say, for cultural forces and like essentially the human spirit, if you'll allow me
Yeah,
the corniness there. Um, because like I say, I want to put out ideas and I want to put them out in a powerful way to help change the zeitgeist over time, just like
yeah,
they have done,
yeah,
essentially. And I don't have anywhere like the power behind me, but these are powerful ideas that people will resonate with, you
yeah,
know? So that's my thinking. And I
yeah,
want to use what power I have to, push them as effectively as I can with my
yeah.
skill set, etc.
Well, the thing for me is even if I don't see a way out, it doesn't matter because on a moral grounds,
Hmm.
it's you have to.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Like you have to try at least.
Yeah.
It just
It
that
isn't
so
fatalistic like that for me, I guess. I give myself hope, because
yeah.
for
I just
future
not so much
generations,
for
you
me.
know,
I hopi I call it hopium. I you have to also be careful with hopium because I find that people get really fixated that we're going to win in positive attitude that they decide to ignore the negative or the reality of it. And the thing is, you
sorry,
have to
I'm
have.
sorry, I'm sorry. Oh, I wish I could tell you how the book ends right now because it's not a happy ending.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I mean, it's good. So for me, hope is too faith based. It's like, oh, I just hope. It's like, well, for me, it's like it doesn't look good, but I'm going to do it anyway based on my moral ground that I'll do it even if it doesn't work.
right. Well,
I'll
and
do
if
the
it
work
if it
even if
doesn't
it
work,
doesn't come to anything. I'll do it anyways because morally, I can't see myself just giving up.
yeah,
Like it's
right,
not morally justifiable to do that. So
right.
on that grounds, I'll just keep going no matter how like dystopic
That's commendable.
it seems
I think a
and
little
how
bit
bad
of
it
hope
gets.
can be like fuel, though. Just a little bit.
Yeah, no, whatever works for you.
Because eventually, well, I feel like eventually the cynicism wears you down and you just get exhausted.
Well, that's how I do feel, but that's mostly just because if you take the reality of the situation, like I just can't help it. Like if I know what I know and I can give myself false hope because I know that it's false.
No, it's
So
not
I'm just
okay.
gonna do what I morally feel justified that needs to be done, and have that just be the basis. Like whether or not it comes from something comes from it. It doesn't matter. I
I
will
guess
do it
my
anyways.
hope is that it's not over yet. That's where
Yeah,
my hope comes from because it's not over yet.
it's not over yet. Yeah, it's not over
Humanity
yet.
is not all lockstep in slavery to capital yet. We haven't, it's not over yet. That's my hope. And that's a fact, right? So.
Yeah, there's still resistance to it, but like it's so minimal. We've been so thoroughly thrashed by the system itself that it's hard to like see a way out. You just got to
Well,
do it.
that's why I'm not trying to pull any kind of full frontal assault. That doesn't work, and I've said that before. That's
Yeah,
why I'm going the route that I'm going,
yeah, yeah.
and I'm gonna write a book about history and some, a little bit of fantasy and have a little bit of fun with people, and by the end, they'll have picked up all this shit. Whoops.
Yeah. I just yeah. It just looks so bad out there.
It does, it does, it does, it does. And from my and I have this, but I have this really concrete goal that helps a lot too. And as long
Yeah,
as the publishing this, as long as you can still
independently
disseminate
published.
literature in any way,
Yeah,
I'm good.
and
Well,
independently publishing is a thing, so that's good.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm strongly considering that, but I'm so far from that right now.
Yeah. As long as you know it's an option.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's really the promotion, because then you have to do all the self promotion, and I don't really. I
Yeah.
have to have a strategy, and that's in the future.
Right? Just work one step at a time, bitch.
Yeah, I gotta write the damn thing
You're like,
first.
shut up, Kat.
No. No, I'm
Don't let
talking
me
to
think about
myself
that.
there, because I see stuff. I see stuff about marketing books, and I see, YouTube is full of everything, and I'm like, ooh, that sounds interesting for 5 years from now.
Yeah. One step at a time.
Right. Slow down, slow down. That's how we get overwhelmed and never finish the damn thing.
But like for me, even like, well, I talked about me going to a lot of the Uhuru meetings and stuff like that with the African Socialist Party. Like,
Yeah.
even though they're in the States, so even if I can't do, even if I don't have much hope, I still try to like organize. I still try to do sort of meet and greets with other
Because
people,
it's the
even
right thing to do.
internationally.
Because it's the right thing to do. And especially, like, it sounds
Exactly.
like you
So
have
even
that
no
skill
matter
set.
how cynical I get, I still go out and still do it. And I've been
Yeah.
doing it for years, like
That's awesome.
years. Like, I remember when transgender ideology first came into fruition, because I went to a book sort of sale thing in a university, like a book kind of community where there's lots of workshops and stuff, and it was done by a lot of the students there, a lot of quote unquote leftist students. And this was in 2011. And when I went there, I didn't realize how bad it got. Everyone's talking about this queer theory shit. And then I was with someone who got driven out of the women's group, and they, along with other women, and the transgender caucus, whatever, went and like doxed the women, put them in big posters, and put them up all over this book fair. And what the person I was with was on that poster, and I literally they came in with a one of those speaker phones, and it was like, is this da 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 da? And she's like, no, right, in front of everyone. And then they tried to rush her, and I had to literally put myself in front of them and her, be like, what is this all about? She said, this is not her. And like, I calmed them down by appealing to their narcissism. I won't get into all that, but talk. Oh, wait, what does that mean? What did that mean? What do you mean by this? Like, try to act stupid. And so I was able to get her away safely. I came back and I took the poster. He gave me a poster. I was like, oh, thank you. I didn't know all about this trans stuff, but I knew about this trans stuff. And I just didn't think it was that bad. So I've been at this for a while. I remember when it first emerged, like when it started to emerge in the universities. It's just nuts. And I've been at it for so long, and thank God it is getting to a point where people are pushing back, but now they're grifting to the right. And I'm just like, come on. Oh, where are we
That
going?
I have to go shut the door again, because I only heard about half of what you said, because I was begging for my privacy again.
I should have been
Anyway.
watching. I should have been watching. I didn't notice until I was
No,
done.
it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Everybody else heard you. They
Okay.
didn't hear me because I had the mic muted. How long ago was that?
But that was in 2011.
Oh my God.
Yeah, like I said, when it first was emerging.
Yeah, but I think that was different in different places.
Well, the place that the book fair, the university that I was at, is one of Jennifer Pritzker
Oh God.
decided to
Okay.
create, like, as someone who's involved in that university. Is
Say
one
no
of the
more.
first
Say no more.
universities that started to propagate that transgenderism. So it was one of the first. It's why Canada's so bad. Is because we got our Pritzkers that are in the different parts of the universities that have spread it so far and wide in Canada.
One of them was governor of Illinois for a while.
Yeah.
So we got it too, Oh my gosh.
But why it's so bad in where I am situated, like where I live, which is the west coast of Canada, and where I'm not in Vancouver, but it's close to. I live close to Vancouver. I'll leave it at that. That's why it's so woke here. Is because there was also a really big, strong leftist resistance to a lot of things like weapons manufacturing. We had a big feminist movement here. Like, they literally burned down because porn shops that were selling under the table, like pornography of trafficked Native women.
That's amazing.
And we had the Picton, right? the pig, the serial killer who fed women to pigs, the prostitutes.
Oh, I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah, so we have that. So a lot of the feminists was a really strong movement here. So yeah, we had the fire brigade, which like literally burned down the porn stores that would sell these products, right? So and then we also had the the Squamish Five, which went and like completely disabled the nuclear manufacturer of nuclear weapons up in the mountains, and got that all completely kaput. So we had a big leftist movement here. That's why I think this is one of the pillars that they've chosen to put in transgenderism, was because it completely disrupted all that big whole movement of really militant actions, and it just decimated the left here.
Wow.
Oh, another West Coast Canadian? Yeah. Are you from the West Coast, Claire? Alfalfa. Oh, the emoji.
You're right. Wow. Yeah, just the same look on my face, like, oh my god. Just because of course I didn't know about any of that. I'm from Ohio. I don't know what they're doing in Vancouver.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
We used to have a strong leftist presence.
Claire says she's in Vancouver as well. Yeah.
Yay, homegirl!
I love this. People making connections. It's awesome. So
yeah, look up the fire brigade, the women's fire brigade, and like the Squamish Five, and you'll Claire, if you haven't heard of those, because that will give you some history. And this is like, again, I said, I think why there was a big push to disseminate transgenderism here is to disrupt the militant left that would actually, instead of just didn't focus on pronouns, but instead the actual like systems of oppression, such as nuclear war machine and like the pornography industry, that because Vancouver is like heavily is where heavily presence is a lot of trafficked Native women, right? We got a heavy presence of that shit here, where they take all the Native women around, groom them, and then they send them here for to be prostituted out. It's just horrible here. So yeah, it's gotten really bad because now you can't even like say that prostitution is like oppressive without fucking some transgender guy going no, right? And it was like, well, that's good because that's nice that it decimated, because we used to literally blow up porn shops. And now you can't even say that porn is oppressive. It's empowering.
From bombing
and that was not that long ago.
To setting crickets loose on gender critical cafe talks. Did they do that again? I thought the crickets thing was in the UK.
It is in the UK. Okay. But yeah, here it used to. Yeah, here I don't know about any crickets, but yeah, they used to do like, they used to really go like hardcore.
Yeah, obviously we need to infiltrate and what's the word?
And this was not that long ago. Like when you think of it at a macro level, it was only a few decades. It's already gone from that extreme 1 to bombing them to 2 saying it's empowering. It's like, what?
And see, not to bring it back to age or whatever, but like this is why another reason that I feel compelled to speak up is like, does nobody else remember the 20th century? Is nobody else old enough to see this long, like the last 20 years from an adult perspective? Because I am.
They don't. They really don't. The younger generation, especially on the liberal left, think they got it all figured out. Right. And they don't need to know.
And I keep watching these, like, I like, cultural criticism through like a media lens because it's more entertaining. It's like sugarcoating, my thing. But that's my guilty pleasure if I'm like eating or whatever. And I'm trying to take my mind off stuff. And sometimes it's more effective than others because a lot of times, like, they literally will start, because they're going from their own personal perspective, I guess, but they will literally start their histories of whatever in like 2003.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a minute. Wait, you see that 2 at the beginning of those zeros? Like, there's a whole thing that happened before. What?
Claire, go to look up Vancouver Rape Relief. We have a lot of subgroups and divisions of different collective feminist organizations, and they're really good. They're as you probably know, Vancouver Rape Relief is the only self-sufficient, self-determined women's shelter that it doesn't rely on government funding, because it got pulled, by the way, because they refused men.
Yeah.
And they were also, so that one's there's a lot of feminist groups that accumulate from that. So you can always go check with them, and you'll be able to get a lot more understanding of the different sort of groups and communities of feminism down there. Because I'm not from Vancouver, but I do travel, and I've helped them out. I've helped them with putting together a talk with Chris Hedges, as well as a few other people. So yes, they do. They do. They really do. I love them there. Love them there. I actually went there and for the there's this women's massacre memorial from that massacre in Montreal that happened with the women. When they do that sort of group every year to commemorate, that's also a really good place to go to at that time to check out the different feminist groups, because they come from all over the world there.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's a really well-known place of organization. So they'll have, like, I've been there with my collective before, had a table and stuff, and you can go around to the different tables and talk to the different organizations when they come to town. So, but yeah, they are really great, and they've got a lot of resources and stuff like that for that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
At least there's still
Networking.
something.
Yes, yeah, the Polytech massacre.
Oh, God.
Where the guy gunned down women, saying like he wanted all women, and just shoot up the place.
Right. But, we can't make that, specifically a misogynist crime or something. I don't know. I hate crime legislation because it's kind of dumb, but like, anyway. This
Like,
obviously targeted like that,
yeah, that's a hate crime right there. That is what
Yeah.
should hate crime be, not speech. Sorry, it's not.
Right.
It shouldn't be considered a crime because it's just speech. It's speaking. It's actions that are what are important to be thought of as hate crimes. But
Right.
misogyny is not considered a hate crime in legislation anyways, which is crazy.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm alluding to, and it's such bullshit, and it's just the same thing that we've been talking about for the last hour. So, oh God, it's great that we can have this much fun talking about these things, though,
Mm-hmm.
because this is what I'm talking about. I don't. You have to strike a balance between gravity and engagement. You know that it's hard to do with this stuff.
Yeah, Claire, that's right. Yeah, interesting, right? If it was trans women, it'd be hate crime, but not when it's women.
Mm-hmm.
What does that
Yeah.
say? The system allowed it. The system allowed it to be trans women, but not for women.
Yeah, well, because trans women are men.
Yeah, because they are important.
And that whole thing that whole idea just serves their project.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And it helps keep the dichotomy of, not dichotomy, but the hierarchy of domination if trans women are seen as more important and more human than women.
Yeah.
It keeps that oppression of the hierarchy of dominant and subordinate.
And it allows them to keep from having to elevate women by having
it keeps women inferior in that inferior position.
Because
right? And still
trans women are
allows
the
for
best women.
men to be in the dominant position and to be seen as humans.
Don't you mean uterus havers, says Alfalfa?
Yeah. No, it's cervix havers.
Yeah, right, because they're going to get uteruses, right?
Yeah, that uteruses is for the trans women.
Yeah. Well, trans women are the best women.
Or what do they call us? Oh, no, they're just the front hole.
Oh, my God.
Remember that? The pamphlet?
Yes. That's so disgusting.
I'm like, don't tell me that it's not misogynistic, that transgenderism is not misogynistic. When they want to reduce us, like she said, reduce us to wombs, well, they reduce us to front holes. Like, that's even worse.
Right. Oh my God. And this is something I've been wanting to say for 2 hours as far as artificial wombs go. like outside of a human body, do we have any concept of what effect that would have on the mind of the person born under such a circumstance?
They don't care
No.
because they don't see people as humans, as the masses, the proletariat as humans. They see them as working tools, and so genetics. They can genetically modify it too
But
to
so this
work
is
in a certain way for that or certain purposes.
no, they can't. They don't know how to
No,
do
but
that
that's what they
yet.
want. They want.
Right. But it's
They
still
also
going to be
can't do
faster
artificial wombs.
first.
They're not artificial wombs yet either.
I
But
know.
that's the goal, right? That's the
I know.
goal.
I know.
Yeah,
And to
it's
get women
dystopian.
to happily agree to this because that enables us to skip merrily off into the free market.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, or there's no need for women at all.
Right. Well, we're simultaneously agreeing to the fact that we're not even really here.
Yeah, they'll just harvest us for our eggs, and that's it. Throw out the fucking
Yeah.
when we're done producing.
And equality means that we're all the same. So, whatever. That doesn't really mean anything. Those organs don't actually mean anything. They're just flesh, right?
Right? Yep.
And I
A
just,
way
but
to
so
produce
this is
more
where
tools.
the feminine perspective is completely fucking missing, okay? Because as a mother, that was my first thought: is what the fuck is going to happen to that baby when they're born in a fucking computer?
Yeah.
What happens to a child? Okay, and this is the problem. What happens to a child when they are physically neglected? Do you know? They waste away. I don't mean
Yeah.
starved. I mean if starved for touch. Like if you don't cuddle a baby and play with
No,
it
I
or
know.
whatever.
That's why they want to go hand in hand with the genealogy to hopefully dumb down the working tool just to know how to work, and that's it.
Like I'm pretty sure the same is true of chimps. Okay? That's not dumbing down. That's taking out something.
I know. Well, I know. That's exactly what they're doing, that they would like to do. And the thing is, it's so dystopian. And I'm just
That
like,
would be
it's not going to work the way that you want it to. Like, we're so far
Yeah.
off that anyways, but the fact that they're trying to, like, push for that direction is scary enough.
Well, it's a fantasy at this point. We don't know how to do this or that or any of it, but we love
We
this
can't even
idea.
do in vitro fertilization
Right.
to have
We
it
don't know
work
how
out.
to
We're
do
going to
any
not
of this,
have
but we
massive
love this
problems
idea, so
already,
we're gonna
which
push
makes
it as
sense
the
because you're
future.
producing eggs. Like that already, there's a problem there. But
Well,
they're
who
not
is
going to see
it?
it because they think that they're the lords of the universe, right?
Right. Or at the very least they ought to be.
They have a god complex. They really do.
Yeah. Which, interestingly enough, is all addressed in the thing I'm working on. All of it. All of it.
You're like, it's all irrelevant.
It's all in there. We got. How did I do that? Fiction, baby.
Yeah.
Fiction, baby. You'll be amazed the thematic stuff that you can fit into a story that would take you 1,000 years to write as a research paper.
Oh, you need to watch Ergo Proxy.
Yeah.
It's got the okay, spoilers. It's got the idea of humans being created on an assembly line and like the dysfunction.
Oh no!
Oh, I'm back.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
The function. Okay. Anyways, yeah, it's got the humans made on an assembly line with so to function as certain tools, but the sort of disease that of the mind that it creates when that kind of function is actually put in place, and what kind of sick society is created from this sort of detachment to human emotion and all that. It's such a good.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah, it's a sci-fi dystopian series.
Excuse me. Wait. How long is it?
It's 23 episodes. It's a series,
Okay.
so you
Well,
can
some series are 6 seasons long. I'm just
Yeah,
asking.
it's true. It was just one season. It only has
Okay.
23 episodes, and
Okay.
it's like, yeah, it's really good. Alfalfa knows. Alfalfa knows.
Right. Yeah. Definitely watch Ergo Pro. Yeah. It sounds. I don't
And
know.
it really, the whole message is like what it means to be human and humanity.
And
And
see,
when we
that's
have
the
a
thing
God
that.
complex, what kind of so comes from having a God complex and how that is disseminated and creates social harms in and of itself. Yeah, it's just really good.
Yeah. That's what ended up turning me like completely away from like all that like hedonism, occultism stuff in the first place because those people like they are their own god. And I'm
Yeah,
not talking about, not the
yeah.
atheistic ones, obviously. But it
Yeah.
literally says in the Satanic Bible that you are your own God.
Oh, I know, right? Well,
I'm
I
not
mean,
though. Like what?
I will spread that red propaganda of no gods, no masters. What is it? No gods, no masters, no something else.
I
But
forget.
that's
I don't
not
know.
saying you are God. It's saying that
No.
there shouldn't be one that you're subordinate to.
Great that you don't
Basically.
answer to anyone. Hello.
Yeah, you don't need to answer to anyone who has a position of
And
power.
if you need to become God in order to feel like you don't answer to anyone, you
Yeah,
have other
well,
problems.
exactly. Then that's a problem in and of itself.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Woo.
No gods, no country, no master. Something like that.
Mm.
I think that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I'm a commie, so commie.
I'm not sure what I am at this point. Politically, I'm so. I don't even know what. I don't even know what. I don't even know. Like none of the old words seem to work right anymore for anything there. So like I don't know.
Well,
Egalitarian, but that's a big clunky one.
for me, I don't even talk about that for me because people have such a bad association because of what's happened with the left.
Yeah, right.
But for me, I'm, and they would disagree nowadays, but I'm an anarchist because an anarchist is not a theory; it's a philosophy that is very simply based on being resistance to unjustified hierarchy and liberation of unjustified hierarchy. That's all that it means.
Okay.
This is why when these people say queer anarchism, it's like, okay, so how are you going to liberate from unjustified hierarchy by embracing gender, which is an unjustified hierarchy? It's an oxymoron. There is no such thing. It can't exist. But they claim that it does, and it's really decimated a lot of
These are the
anarchist thought.
people who
A
talk
lot of,
about a
if you go
spectrum
into
and a
anarchist circles
hierarchy at the
now,
same time.
if you go in anarchist circles now, all of the older material written before, they say is problematic and you're not allowed to look at that. Oh yeah, there's a lot of that going on in that kind of community, and it's like no wonder they've gotten to a point now where they're just like bum rushing anyone who like says that gender is a social construct and men can't be women. Right? This is like it really decimated that whole aspect. But legitimately speaking, what was before the accumulation of queer anarchism was really useful in having different theories put forth based on the philosophy of unjustified hierarchies should not exist.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
How do you define unjustified? How do you demonstrate, more
Okay,
important, that a hierarchy?
Capitalism is an unjustified hierarchy. A justified hierarchy is, say, a parent and a child. That power dynamic is a justified hierarchy. You are helping to create and teach a human being how to live in the world. That's a justifiable one.
So the examples are useful, but let's say you have a new hierarchy that you've just encountered. How do you determine if it is justified or not?
Whether it is based strategically on a power dynamic where one has a subordinate to the other and one's dominant in itself to the other, where the subordinate can't break free from that. So like take a lot of the tribal.
A lot of people would characterize the parent-child dynamic that way.
I know, but they're stupid.
That's not an argument. I'm just trying to be devil's advocate.
No. It's stupid. I'll let you know why it's stupid. So the reason the power dynamic between parent and child works. Oh, let's say if the parent is, say, incestually grotesque in a way, that's unjustifiable. But but for let's just say for a just regular parent and child dynamic, you have a parent. It's justified because it's not about oppression. It's not about trying to subordinate your child. It's about teaching your child how to live in the world outside when it is ready to. And you're trying to like accumulate a healthy individual from it, right?
Okay.
And if you're wrong as a parent, like say if you're doing drugs or whatever and stuff, you deserve to have, like, if you're not going to be, but if you're putting them in danger, that should be the kid should be taken away. Because it becomes unjustifiable because you're harming the child.
Okay.
You see what I mean?
An unjustifiable hierarchy is destructive.
Yeah, basically. And there's no recourse to the people, the masses that are underneath the hierarchy that make up the bottom half of the period of the hierarchy. There's no way for them to disassociate from the hierarchy or tear it down or restructure it. Like they don't have that power to do that. So the power dynamic, it's very oppressive because you are boxed in and you cannot like break free from it when it turns bad. If it turns bad, a lot of tribal nations had hierarchies that were based on their leader who didn't actually have power. You would to like completely control the situation. If he started doing a shitty job, he was taken out of that position because the power didn't lie in him; the power lied in the people.
Well, it brings me back to what my friend always says. My one friend who I talk to about this YouTube shit a lot, because we have very different social and political backgrounds, and he's very Christian, and his perspective on it is that the man being the head of the household means that he's supposed to serve the family. He's the leader in that
is your wife getting paid, or is she unpaid labor slaving on you?
Right, I know.
Because then
I'm not trying to sit here and argue his position, but I think it's interesting.
Sorry.
But I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
Because what you said reminded me of that. It's a different framework where the leader is not the guy who is the boss. Maybe like the person who goes down the path first is the one who gets the cobwebs in his face.
But it's not even just being the boss. It's about taking in consideration all the like every perspective. Like if something's working from the people and trying to organize it, that is just a duty. But it's a duty to your people. And the thing is, you don't have the power to initiate anything that the people don't want.
It's the difference.
You're just there to help organize
and being a boss.
Yeah, that's the difference between being a leader and a boss. Yeah, that's the difference.
Right. And a lot of times those words are used interchangeably, and I would differentiate that because, we need a word for leader. We need a word for somebody who's in charge of shit but actually gives a fuck.
Yeah, and doesn't have the power over the whole of the people to make decisions based on his whim or her whim, but based on the whim of the people.
A bad way to make decisions, dare I say it. It's inefficient. One person cannot be expected to reasonably do. You know what I mean? Like, that's not even a good way to do things.
What do you mean?
I mean, people have bad days. People get sick.
I know, but usually in a hierarchy, it's not just one guy only.
No,
like there's like a team.
But still, like the pyramid I don't know.
I'm trying to like do it so like on a bare minimum of what what is justified and what is unjustified. Okay. But like you still have like other people, like say a council or whatever. Like there's still going to be. But I'm talking about just simplifying it for so that it's easily applicable, like on a bigger macro basis. But that's basically the gist of it. So there's unjustified forms and there's injustifiable forms. Justifiable and not justified. That's simple as that. And it's very, very open-ended. Like the anarchist philosophy is just simply that. And that's why you get different subdivisions and subgroups of what anarchist theory is. Such as like anarcho-syndicalism, right? Which actually had gained prominence in Spain with the sort of era with the Civil War and all that. And actually they got fucked over by the Communist Party that came into, it was a big thing. But anyway, you should look into the history of that, the anarchist syndicalism formation, because it worked for a while within different Spanish communes in that era. But unfortunately, what is difficult about maintaining that is when there's a power when there's a centralized power system that wants to be rid of it. That's what makes it hard to keep it afloat, because the whole aspect of it being not centralized in control, where it can easily be taken out, because that's the whole purpose. You want to be able to take out a centralizing power when it becomes unjustified. So it's easy to destroy if there's a system that's bigger and badder and more centralized power behind it. That's why it's hard to keep afloat. But for the longest time, a lot of the native tribes in North America worked like that. There was a bunch of different nationalities that worked in that way. and all the different sort of small communal nations, when hierarchy did start to arrive that was unjustifiable, then they were able to tear it down because they were able to be. It was hard to sort of pinpoint that, like, where the sort of when they were trying to, when an empire is trying to expand, it's hard to like organize a thorough decimation of all the different native tribes. But what ended up happening was they got taken out by the African slave trade with the New World when the Europeans came over and really decimated that by the smallpox. It really wiped out a lot of that. So they're able to have more or less people around, so they're able to exert their power on the ones that were left and the land that they wanted.
See, and this is the thing that I always come back to that just frightens me. Is probably my worst thing is like, you can put up any kind of resistance you want and all kinds of, cultural subgroups and undergrounds and whatever, and they can just come along and kill everybody.
Yeah. That's why it needs to be torn down. Tear it all down. But the thing is, like, I don't see a way to even do that that's going to be beneficial for everything. Like, things are going to get, like, we're so interwoven in the system that it's just like you have to take it back slowly. You can't just burn it down because like something else would go in its place. So like you can't even do that. I don't know the answer. I really don't.
Yeah.
This is what makes me cynical, so maybe I should shut up.
But it just makes me think we should keep talking. No.
No, I know. I just don't want to be I've got like a lot of history behind it where a lot of people have told me I'm too negative. Oh, I don't want to talk about that because it makes it I don't want to be a doomer. And I'm like, I've got this sort of like I'll keep apologizing because I'm just so used to that when I'm talking.
Okay.
Well, so just because I've had that happen a lot of times. So I'm sorry about that.
If it bothers
I don't want to put the doomer fear in people. So I'm so used to trying to
say something, but like I'm so in this anyway. It's not as if when you stop talking to me, I don't think about these things.
Yeah. I just had so many people come to be like, you're such a doomer. And like for like expressing like how horrible the outlook and system is.
Oh my
God.
God.
In fact, I don't have an answer to give you. That's perfect. That's going to be like the answer to the problem. Because I don't know. But yeah, so I'm just a doomer to a lot of people. So they get uppity. I've had a lot of people get uppity with me.
No, like I say, I find hope in various things. You mentioned like humanity or human spirit or something earlier in something you were saying, and that's basically like, people are going to be people, and they're not, I mean, unless they actually manage to carve everybody up into robots.
Yeah. Oh, that's so scary to think of. Machines with bits of flesh on it. Carved up and put on machinery.
Well, we all grew up watching the Terminator movies. Like, this is
we're going to get into it with the Caliban and the witch. We got mechanical theory. We're going to be going through scientific management. We're going to go through all that with this. But I actually got to go because my phone's going to die.
Okay.
So it's been great, like coming and reading this, talking to everyone. I'm glad to impart some information to Claire about where she can go to, get into some more feminist collectives. And yeah, it's been really great.
Yeah. So I guess 2 weeks. Check the space. We'll be doing part of chapter 1, right?
Yep.
All right.
All right.
Everybody have a good week. And I'll see you in 2. Bye.